specific operation to capture the Pakistani post, and this operation has been carried out by the Kandahar-based corps, that is 205 Al-Badr Corps of the Afghan Defense Forces. And during the overnight operation, they have captured 7 posts of the Pakistani army, during which they have recovered 7 rifles. That includes the automatic weapons that are being used from their posts to target the locations of the Afghan Defense Forces. Apart from that, they have recovered 2 communication devices, and other ammunition has also been recovered from these 7 posts. Many of the Pakistani soldiers have also been killed and many have been wounded in the ongoing operation. They are saying that the operation is still underway and they will continue to carry out these kind of operations. So in the hinterland, we have seen that the TTP is intensifying their operations with carrying out roughly 18 attacks on the Pakistani armed forces in last 24 hours. And now the Afghan Defense Forces has came out with a video also in which it can be clearly seen that the arsenal that is being used by the Pakistani army has completely been captured by the Afghan Defense Forces, and they are saying that they will be continuing to operate in the area all along the Durand line. So the situation on the Pakistan's border with Afghanistan is getting out of control for the Pakistan, with Afghan ground forces carrying out a major assault on the locations of Pakistan and capturing their posts. 7 posts have already been captured all along the Durand line in the yesterday night operation, and also the further operations are continuing, while on the other hand, the Afghan Defense Forces have also come out with a statement in which they have said that when it comes to the Pakistan, they have targeted our civilian locations only, in which more than 100 civilians have been killed in the attacks that have been carried out by Pakistan.
Yes. Gursimran, let's go back to where it all started. We have seen that the Pakistan-Afghanistan situation was looking a little bit under control. There were a lot of talks, negotiations happening, some kind of diplomacy that we saw, but things really were out of control once more. We see that Pakistan has declared an open war against Afghanistan. A lot of people have been killed, a lot of soldiers have been killed, there are a lot of casualties. Innocent lives have also been lost. If you could just help our viewers understand what is next in terms of the statements coming in from the Taliban government and the Pakistan government on the future of this escalation.
See, when it comes to the data that has been shared by the Afghan Interior Ministry, they clearly say that more than 100 civilians, 125 civilians have been killed. Over 300 houses have been destroyed partially. There have been destructions to the madrasas and the masjids all along the Afghanistan border. And they say that Pakistan has also targeted their places of worship. It is only targeting the civilian women, and the children have been the majority target of the Pakistan during the airstrikes that they have carried out on 21st and 22nd, and also the retaliation that has been done by Afghan has been only on the armed forces locations, but Pakistan time and again has been targeting the civilian areas. There have been large-scale damage to the civilian houses, to the civilian infrastructure in Afghanistan, while on the other hand, Afghans say that they have restricted themselves only to the locations of the Pakistani army and has been restricted only to their military bases that are deep inside or on the borders.
All right, thank you, Gursimran, for getting us on those details. So the Pakistan-Afghanistan open war, like it's being called, that is also escalating. Now, Pakistan appears to be staring at a pressure from all sides. On the Western front, violence is escalating. On the Eastern front, the fears of confrontation with India is rising. In a significant statement, Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari has claimed. Okay, we're getting some live pictures coming in. So let's tell our viewers what is happening here. These are some live pictures that we're getting for our viewers as the escalation continues. If we could just get information on what these live pictures are coming from, the location of these live pictures, then we can tell our viewers a little bit more about what is happening. But these are some live pictures coming in from the Middle East situation. Okay, this is a picture coming in from Beirut. This is Beirut, and it looks like there is a fresh escalation in Beirut. We have been showing you live pictures from Beirut. Beirut is in Lebanon, and multiple strikes can be seen in Beirut. Israel is striking Lebanon's Beirut after Hezbollah has hit Israel's air bases. So the Israeli forces have been launching fresh attacks on Lebanon is Beirut, and Beirut has a lot of Hezbollah strongholds. So Israel is trying to target those Hezbollah strongholds. Israeli forces are saying that they're conducting simultaneous strikes on Beirut and Tehran. Getting pictures coming in live from Beirut after Israel launches airstrikes on Lebanese capital, after Hezbollah fired missiles across the border. These are the live pictures we're getting from Beirut. Beirut is one more front which has opened up. This is a front which has opened up as Iran's proxies are backing Iran. So big updates coming in here. Multiple strikes have been reported from Beirut. This is the latest one. This is a live strike that we are getting for you. This has just happened a short while back. First on Republic. Israeli military had warned that they will be striking Beirut. And they have said that they will continue to operate against Hezbollah infrastructure in the area. So Hezbollah has also been retaliating. Okay, so we'll stick with these pictures, live pictures coming from Beirut. So Beirut is where this is a Hezbollah stronghold. So Israel is striking these strongholds in Beirut. We have seen that Israeli military has been warning again and again that they will operate against Hezbollah infrastructure in the area, specifically Beirut. Okay, more pictures coming in, more strikes. These are more strikes which are coming in, live pictures coming in from Beirut, making it clear. This is a live picture coming in from Beirut. Okay, live pictures coming in from Beirut. Okay, we have a guest joining us. Israel is launching broad wave of strikes. Live pictures coming in. We have a guest joining us live. We have Ori Goldberg joining us live from Tel Aviv, independent political analyst. And we also have Purnima Nath, geopolitical observer, U.S. congressional candidate, Wisconsin, USA. Let's go straight across to Ori Goldberg, who's joining us. You know a lot about Iran and regional strategy. You know that, Ori, those pictures are showing us how Israel is targeting Hezbollah strongholds in Beirut. And Iran's proxies are also heading back. They are supporting Iran. These are live pictures coming in. Your first analysis of these strikes in Beirut.
Nothing surprising about them. Israel has said that this is what it will do. It has already struck Beirut. These are not the first strikes on Beirut. There are no Iranian proxies. Hezbollah in Lebanon has announced that it will join the fight. So far, it has limited its fire mostly to military bases. Israel is the one who is driving the escalation. Israel is the one who answers every volley from Hezbollah with a strike directed at a major city. You have to remember that they're not firing on a Hezbollah base, they're firing on Lebanon's capital. So these are images you're seeing from a city where, just like in Israel, military installations are surrounded by mass civilian populations. This has not been the case with regard to Lebanese fire so far. This is Israel intentionally driving up the stakes.
Yes. Mr. Goldberg, in Lebanon, what is Hezbollah's operational intent in joining in? What they're joining in this multi-front, multi-pronged war. What is their intent?
Well, it's not so much, again, a multi-pronged war. Hezbollah has very prominent and deep links to Iran. Iran is its main finder. Hezbollah has so far joined Iran's war, is the only proxy to have joined Iran's war, but it is not firing at full strength, and its strength is limited anyway. Additionally, in Lebanese politics, the entire political system has united against Hezbollah military activities. But the intent, as far as Hezbollah goes, is double. First, it's to sympathize with its Iranian patrons and help their effort. But perhaps even more profoundly, it is an attempt to warn Israel from invading Lebanon, something which it had planned to do anyway. Israel has been operating offensively in Lebanon for more than a year now, since Hezbollah stopped firing in the last conflict. Israel bombs, kills, destroys in Lebanon on a daily basis. Hezbollah, declaratively and effectively, is also fighting that Israeli effort.
All right. Yes. I think, can we just go across to our other guest, Purnima Nath, geopolitical observer, is joining us. If we get Purnima Nath, are you there with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Purnima Nath is in the USA, and we are putting on these pictures. Mr. Goldberg is joining us live from Tel Aviv, from Israel, and you're joining us live from US. So I would like an American perspective as to what exactly is happening here. Now, we know that President Trump has made it clear that they have a lot of weapons and this war can go on forever. This is what President Trump has said. But at the same time, we know that every casualty, American casualty, does not look good on Trump domestically.
Thanks so much for having me, Namaste. Jai Hind, happy Holi. First of all, you mentioned about President Trump's declaration. The candidate who actually said he's a no-war president, he took us to a war without the consensus of American people. 80%, more than 80% actually didn't want to get involved in this particular clash. However, we are in it right now. And the way he took us in there without even informing us, 4 days before the attack, there was a SOTU, the State of the Union. He literally projected himself as the peace person, calling he is actually solving multiple wars, and it's pathetic at this point of time. Today, we have no idea, no strategy, what is going to happen. And I need you to understand how the internal politics work here in America. They literally use the number of American killed in any struggle or any war or any battle as a political scoring point to gain emotional support from their supporter. And they do that. It's a bipartisan. America cannot live without wars. War is our economy. War feeds our industries. War feeds our people as well. Unfortunately, I think in President Trump, we saw that he actually was genuinely interested in not dragging us into forever wars. Now he keeps saying that this is not going to be forever wars. In one side, he says that it's a 3-day war. Initially, it was just a 24 hours operation, I suppose. He thought it was a Venezuelan Maduro operation. And then 3 days, and another newspaper article says it's a 4 to 5 weeks. Unfortunately, what is happening is he's coming across as he himself and his administration doesn't know what they are doing. The congressional briefing, literally everybody who came out from the Democrat side, they're more worried about it, and they're going to use it for the midterm election. If the midterm election happens freely and properly without any coercion, then I think we are losing, our party is losing, our president of America is losing.
All right, big pivot there. Big pivot there from peace to war. Trump's big pivot. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. Let's put out some breaking news and then I'll go back to Mr. Goldberg. IRGC claims an American Zionist enemy Hermes drone was destroyed in the outskirts of Kerman city at around 9:15 a.m. today. IRGC claiming destroying U.S. Hermes drone. Let's go back to Mr. Goldberg on this. Mr. Goldberg, IRGC is fighting till the end, fighting tooth and nail. You're in Israel. And how confident is Israel that its air defense shield can handle these Iranian missiles and drone fire, the multiple drone fires? Mr. Goldberg.
Now, the Iranians have a very clear game plan. They're not firing all the missiles they have. They're firing in very calculated efforts to disrupt life in Israel and around the Persian Gulf as much as possible. When Iran fought Israel in June, it launched much bigger volleys of missiles every time in an attempt to cause as much damage as possible. That's not the case this time around. This time around, it's about causing a major disturbance to everyday life, and in that, they are being extremely successful. Life here, even though businesses are open and public sector is working, life here has been brought to something of a standstill because people are being ordered to shelter in place repeatedly. The first 24 hours of this war on Saturday, we had more than 20 such orders within 24 hours. Now we don't have as many, but we have them scattered around the day in what seems like very calculated bursts. So the Iranians, I think, have a game plan. They want to pressure, especially the Gulf states, to apply pressure to Donald Trump to finish this war. As we heard from your other guest, Trump is indecisive, and that's because he thought this would be a very brief thing, and it is now turning into a complicated war that is drawing concentrated political criticism. I don't think he can stay indifferent to these pressures for long. He may boast about being able to fight forever, but he understands that this is probably the most unpopular war an American president has ever fought.
Yes. Okay. On that, would you like to react to that? Purnima Nath, what Mr. Goldberg said, would you agree to what he said about President Trump?
I agree to a large extent because at this point of time, I think President Trump's popularity was surging because of the fact that he actually, his rhetoric initially looked quite genuine, and that's exactly why I supported him as well. For 10 years, I've supported his agenda, and he kept saying his base, MAGA base, which is the white Christian nationalist supremacist base, who kept saying that President Trump is the only one who didn't start a new war, and I agree to that extent. But what happened in this second term and the first year, we have no idea. It's almost the Project 2025, the folks that we haven't really voted for, they're the one who's running it. And unfortunately, if you look at GOP, if you look at the administration's DHS or USCIS or ICE handles, it's every single Sunday you will see sermons from biblical sermons over there. So for me, somebody like me who's brown, who's not a white, who's Hindu, who's not a Christian, unfortunately they are actually targeted against us as well. The H1B, the F1, that the conversation you have heard, it's not random, I tell you, because of the fact that they target us, saying that we are not assimilating. So any non-Abrahamic, non-white, non-Christian is supposedly non-American. They're trying to create that narrative against us. And if somebody like me who's challenging President Trump, we're getting targeted in the party. My party membership in the Republican Party of Milwaukee County has been canceled just a couple of weeks ago. And this is serious matter because you cannot talk anything about President Trump. And it's almost like a mafia running the country.
Right.
No, they're not listening to anybody, and that's not going to fare out very well for President Trump and the party. Also, we're losing. In the last 1 year, we have lost major seats in different parts of the country, and they're still not learning because they're thinking that fascism is here. They can silence anybody. They can silence the dissent also. That's not going to work very well for them.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Purnima Nath, and thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg from Tel Aviv and Purnima Nath from the United States, joining us live, decoding the situation, taking a new report here. We have a report coming in from Dubai, because Dubai is one of the most international cities in the Gulf region. It was under attack from Iranian drones and missiles. And how is the situation evolving now? Our reporter Wang Zheng finds out.
Currently, I'm in Dubai, and we are going to the airport and see if other things are still going on in normal in Dubai. There has been sounds of blast in UAE for past a few days, but there's no sound of blast this morning. Now we are driving on Sheikh Zayed Road heading to the airport. You can see there's much less traffic than normal. Usually it takes about 40 to 45 minutes to travel from Dubai Marina to the airport, but today, as we can see now, it only took about 20 minutes. We are entering departures of Terminal 3 of Dubai International Airport, and there's no display on arrivals information. This is a baggage claim where travelers usually come and pick up their luggages. You can see currently it's empty. And for departures, there's only one screen available, and many flights are cancelled. The baggage wrapping services is closed currently. You can see there's currently no one at the duty refund station. You can see there are some travelers waiting in the waiting area. Maybe they're hoping to catch on a flight leaving UAE. Are you leaving?
I'm leaving, going back to India, yeah. I'm very excited, yes.
So you came here for traveling or?
Yeah, I came as a tourist
When did you arrive?
I arrived a week ago.
Yeah.
I should have left on Sunday, but I'm leaving on Tuesday today, 2 days later.
But there are tourists still stranded in Dubai.
I bought one a month ago, but the plane that should fly now is cancelled, and I cannot fly away.
We just left Dubai International Airport on our way to Dubai Mall. We have arrived at the parking lot of Dubai Mall. You can see there are still many parking spaces. It's about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and I have arrived at the Dubai Mall, the world's largest mall, and you can probably see the visitor. There are still visitors, but the number is, I think it's much less than previous. The Apple store in Dubai Mall overlooking the Dubai fountain is closed. Despite the situation, there are people who say they still would love to stay in Dubai.
Yeah, I will stay in Dubai. I'll stay in Dubai.
After this visit, it gives me a feeling that life goes on here in Dubai. But for some visitors, they still need to go back home.
Okay, live pictures which are coming in from Beirut. Let's go to the live pictures which are coming in. Just right now, Israel has once again struck Hezbollah strongholds in Beirut. Beirut's main areas have been hit. Israel is launching a broad wave of strikes. Lebanon is saying that the couple of strikes in south of Beirut, some people have been killed, Lebanon says, and wounded. Israel says that they have launched a broad wave of strikes on targets in Iran and in Lebanon, in Beirut.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिम MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिम।
जीरा सिम असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आरप्योर मसाला।
IRGC launches 17th wave of strikes against US-Israeli targets. Fresh visuals show Iranian missile dodging a US-Israeli defense system and hitting targets. Iran releases footage of the moment of an Israeli drone being shot down in Khurramabad. Iran claims complete control of the Strait of Hormuz after claiming to strike 10 oil tankers for ignoring warnings. Explosions rock US Victoria base near Baghdad airport in Iraq after Iranian drone strike. Donald Trump threatens to halt trade with Spain over military base access. Welcome viewers. The war in West Asia continues and we're breaking all the live developments here on Republic, beginning with the French foreign minister on Wednesday said French Rafale fighter jets had neutralized Iranian drones targeting United Arab Emirates, which means France is also in action in this war in West Asia. There's a statement that's been made by the foreign minister of the country saying that Iranian drones have been neutralized by Rafale fighter jets. And these drones were in fact targeting United Arab Emirates. So we're looking at France coming to aid, in fact, UAE as it continues to face aggression and attacks by Iran. That's a statement coming in from the French foreign minister saying that there were Iranian drones trying to target United Arab Emirates, but those drones were in fact neutralized by Rafale fighter jets. That's the big breaking news already. The Gulf nations have been pulled into this war, which started with the US and Israel's attack on Iran. And now we're looking at European countries also joining in. The latest, we are looking at action by France in which Rafale fighter jets have now neutralized Iranian drones, which are in fact were targeting United Arab Emirates. We're getting you visuals as well, viewers, of these live developments coming to light from West Asia. And now viewers, moving on, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has officially approved Israeli Defense Forces to now advance into southern region of Lebanon. This as the tensions escalate, and the move comes after IDF claimed Hezbollah is launching attacks in support of Iranian regime. Israel has now intensified its attacks against Hezbollah targets, launching multiple airstrikes targeting their command centers as well as key infrastructure. Take a look at this full report.
As the escalating conflict in the Middle East rages on for 4 days, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu approved Israeli Defense Forces to advance into Lebanon and seize strategic places. Lebanese army has withdrawn from 7 forward positions as Israel begins incursions into Lebanon. This comes after Israel defense spokesperson claimed Hezbollah chose to join the Iranian regime.
Our forces, along with the U.S. armed forces, continue degrading the Iranian regime's military capabilities. We have focused on targeting ballistic missile launchers, command and control centers, underground bunkers, and, of course, key Iranian regime leadership figures. Yesterday, Iran's main terrorist proxy, Hezbollah, launched dozens of rockets and UAVs from southern Lebanon at Israeli civilians in northern Israel. Our forces have been prepared to strengthen and protect all borders as part of this operation and are more than.
All right, viewers, we're now getting visuals, in fact, from Jammu and Kashmir. Mehbooba Mufti there protesting in favor of, in fact, Iran, denouncing the death of the supreme leader and calling out Israel and America's actions as they continue their aggression in West Asia. This is what we're looking at. PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti, in fact, there protesting over Israel and US's action in West Asia, denouncing their strikes on Iran and speaking in favor, in fact, of the Iranian regime. In fact, you can see her holding the poster which has the picture of the supreme leader of Iran, which was killed in the Israeli and US action. And there you have the PDP chief from Srinagar. Those are the live visuals coming to light. Mehbooba Mufti there protesting against US and Israeli action in West Asia. She has been denouncing the strikes carried out by the Western powers against Iran. And there she's speaking, in fact, in favor of the Iranian regime, denouncing the killing of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and while slamming the actions of US and Israel. This as West Asia is now plunged into a wider war with Iran on one side, US, Israel on the other. Several European allies have also joined US and Israel. And we're getting you visuals live from Srinagar. This is where the PDP chief, Mehbooba Mufti, is now protesting over the actions of US and Israel. She's denouncing, in fact, their actions against the late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. You can see her, in fact, pointing to the portrait of the late Supreme Leader, mourning as well over the death of Iran's supreme leader, while protesting against the US and Israeli action as they continue, viewers remember, in West Asia. In fact, for past 5 days, the war has been going on in West Asia. It started with the death of the Iran supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And what we're looking at essentially right now, coming to light from Srinagar, is the PDP chief, Mehbooba Mufti, protesting what has been taking place against Iran in West Asia, the action of US and Israel, the death of the supreme leader of the country, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. She, along with others, in fact, on a sit-in protest, they are denouncing Israel's action. They are burning the effigies. In fact, we are looking at the portrait of Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu being burnt by these protesters. Mehbooba Mufti, in fact, leading them in this protest as they denounce the action of both these countries against Iran. All right, viewers, those are the visuals coming to light from Iran. You can see how the portraits and the pictures of Israeli Prime Minister and US President Donald Trump are being burnt by these protesters. Mehbooba Mufti is the one who's leading them, the PDP chief in Srinagar, as they hold a protest against the US and Israeli action. My colleague Zeenat now joins me with more details on this. Zeenat, it's a protest against US and Israeli action against Iran, and what we're looking at is Mehbooba Mufti leading those protesters.
Yes, you can see the visuals that we are beaming on the screen come from the PDP headquarters in Srinagar, where PDP chief and the former chief minister of J&K, Mehbooba Mufti, today burned the effigies of US President Donald Trump and the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Srinagar. And this is the way that the Ms. Mufti is registering a protest here, because a lot of developments have been taking place since the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. We have been seeing the protests, there were long processions, midnight processions, and then many of the people were given a warning by the J&K police that not to spread the misinformation. And then yesterday evening there was the FIRs that were registered in Cyber Police Station against MP Aga Ruhullah and former Mayor Junad
fellow, another Epstein goon master. He's an Epstein master. Netanyahu. And together they go war criminal. He's also a war criminal. They go and they attack a sovereign country like Iran, and nobody is talking about it. And unfortunately, the Muslim countries, मुझे बहुत अफसोस के साथ कहना पड़ता है, जो मुस्लिम कंट्रीज हैं, जितनी भी गल्फ में है, जितनी भी कंट्रीज हैं मिडिल ईस्ट में है, वो न सिर्फ तमाशा देख रही हैं, बल्कि उनके मुंह से एक लफ्ज नहीं निकला है, बट इनडायरेक्टली tacitly they are also supporting this attack on Iran by providing bases to the Americans and also giving them some kind of tacit support. ये तो इससे बड़े अफसोस की क्या बात हो सकती है, और कि हमारी मुस्लिम कंट्रीज, और इसके बाद तो उनकी बारी है. और इसमें मुझे ये भी अफसोस है कि पाकिस्तान, जिन्होंने हाल ही में अरब के साथ एक मुआहदा किया, आज लगता है वो मुआहदा इजराइल के खिलाफ नहीं था, वो ईरान के खिलाफ था. तो सारी मुस्लिम कंट्रीज कहीं ना कहीं अमेरिका के और इजराइल के बगल बच्चे बने हुए हैं, और एक ईरान अकेला लड़ रहा है. तो इसलिए हमारे दिल, हमारे दिमाग, हमारी रूह उनके साथ है, और हम अल्लाह ताला से भी दुआ करते हैं. मगर इसके साथ में यहाँ के लोगों से ये भी गुजारिश करना चाहूंगी कि आपको जो भी करना है अमन से कीजिए. अमन खराब नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप जानते हैं जम्मू कश्मीर के हालात क्या हैं, यहाँ की इक्तिसादियात क्या हैं. अगर यहाँ इस साल का खुदा न खास्ता पहली मौसम की खराबी की वजह से बहुत कुछ खराब हो रहा है. आपको पता है अमेरिकन एप्पल और दूसरे आने की वजह से यहाँ इक्तिसादी बहरान खड़ा होने वाला है, और टूरिज्म जो अभी थोड़ा पिकअप हो रहा है उसको भी नुकसान नहीं पहुंचना चाहिए. तो इसलिए मेरी अपने नौजवानों से मोतबाना गुजारिश है, आप हर चीज पुरअमन तरीके से कर लीजिए. आप अभी तक भी पुरअमन रहे, आगे भी पुरअमन रहिए, और हमारे दिल, हमारी रूह जो है ईरान के लोगों के साथ है. बहुत बहुत
और इंडिया के दरमियान जो रिश्ते बहुत अच्छे थे, तो जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने इसराइल का किया उसके बाद ये डायलॉग
बोल दिया, मैंने ऑलरेडी सब कुछ बोल दिया जो बोलना था. वो भी मैंने बोला कि जितने भी मुस्लिम ममालिक है वो तो बिल्कुल इस वक्त इसराइल के बगल बच्चे बने हुए हैं, उसकी गोद में बैठे हैं नेतन्याहू के, जबकि उनको इस वक्त ईरान के साथ होना चाहिए. न सिर्फ उसकी गोद में बैठे हैं, बल्कि कहीं ना कहीं ईरान के इस हमले में डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली उनका साथ भी दे रहे हैं इजराइल और अमेरिका का. थैंक यू सो मच.
मैम यहाँ पे कुछ लोकल न्यूज़पेपर्स जो है, अगर ग्रेटर कश्मीर की बात करें या ग्रेटर कश्मीर लाइव, उनको कल रेस्ट्रिक्ट किया गया, तो कैसे?
राइजिंग कश्मीर, ब्राइटर कश्मीर, ग्रेटर कश्मीर, कश्मीर लाइफ, वो तो हम कहते हैं, उसको हम कंडेम करते हैं. हमें तो समझ नहीं आता है कि ये क्या है कि अगर आपके लीडर दिल्ली में है और यहाँ इसको कंडेम नहीं करते हैं, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि सब लोग खामोश हो जाएं. जो हकीकत है वो भी जर्नलिस्ट ना दिखाए, मीडिया दिखाए. इट्स हाईली कंडेमनेबल. थैंक यू सो मच.
Right, Zinat, so here Mehbooba Mufti denounced not only the actions by US and Israel but also by the GCC countries, and at the same time urging the protesters in the valley to maintain calm, to not indulge in violence.
We have seen the violence on the couple of days back when there was a protest. The clashes were witnessed between the police as well as the protesters, the mourners. The first time since 2019, the tear smoke canisters were lobbed towards the protesters. But because this was more to disperse the crowd and to see there is no casualty or injury on ground. And next day, there were the strict arrangements of the security that were put in place by the J&K police and the CRPF to see that the protesters do not move outside their respective areas, and that is what we was witnessing yesterday and today also. That also helped the J&K government as far as the speed of the internet, because it was restricted speed has been witnessed. It has been downgraded. With the result, not much information is going out. The precaution that has been taken by the administration here is to see that no casualty or injury is reported. Meanwhile, the schools in the Kashmir Valley have been shut till 7th of the March. The government will take the decision 7th evening whether to go with the reopening of the schools or to wait for a few more days till the situation de-escalates.
All right, so heavy security deployment still remains in place. Thank you, Zeenat, for joining us and giving us all these crucial details. Now, viewers, another breaking news development coming to light. The IDF here has launched a broad wave of strikes targeting Iranian regime's targets in Tehran. The Israeli Air Force here has struck facilities within the leadership compound of the Iranian what they call a terrorist regime, including the presidential office and the Supreme National Security Council building. Now, remember, just a while ago, there was warning issued by Israel saying that any leader which is appointed by the terror regime will be eliminated. And now we're looking at a fresh wave of attacks being carried out by the Israeli forces. They've targeted the presidential office, a Supreme National Security Council, and this all this comes within the leadership compound of the Iranian regime. So again, Israel going for the top leadership of Iran, the high-profile targets is what we could call them. A fresh wave of strikes being conducted by the Israeli Air Force in the capital city of Iran. Tehran here is being targeted, and we're looking at carpet bombing all across the country, but specifically the capital city. This is where the leadership compound is present and the presidential office is there. The National Security Council sits there, and these are the targets, in fact, of the latest attack by Israel in Tehran. And now, viewers, the Israel-Iran conflict has entered a dangerous new phase. Tehran's Mehrabad airport has now been hit with plumes of smoke rising over the Iranian capital. Now, with evacuation warnings issued and strikes intensifying, fears of a broader regional escalation are still growing by the hour. So the question is this a limited conflict that we are witnessing or beginning for something far bigger? Take a look at this report.
Israel has bombed Tehran's Mehrabad airport. As the conflict enters its fourth day, the Mehrabad airport became a target of the fresh rounds of attack. Israel also sounded evacuation warnings across Iran before striking airports. Huge plumes of smokes were seen in the area. It was also reported that an Iranian passenger aircraft was also destroyed in these attacks. Previously, even Iran also launched targeted attacks on Israel, specifically in Tel Aviv and Beit Shemesh. President Donald Trump has even said that this battle could go on for more than a month.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks.
During these unprecedented times, it's not just Iran, US, and Israel at a war. With different countries joining in, this could be the beginning of something even bigger.
All right, viewers, we've got another big development coming to light. There has been an escalation. The Israeli-Lebanese conflict with Israeli artillery shelling now targeting the outskirts of Kafr Shuba. Warplanes are striking the town of Hula. All this in southern Lebanon. This is a part of the ongoing conflict between Israel and Lebanon-based paramilitary groups, which has been intensifying since 2023. The situation right now remains volatile, with both the sides exchanging attacks and counter-attacks. We're looking at Israel now intensifying its attacks on another front, that is with Lebanon. Hezbollah targets are now being hit by the Israeli Air Force. We're also looking at continuous shelling by the Israeli Air Force. In fact, in Lebanon, several targets now being hit, including Kafr Shuba as well as the town of Hola. All of this is located in southern Lebanon. All right, viewers, in fact, these are the live visuals we're getting you from the Beirut skyline. This is where Israel has been targeting Hezbollah command centers, Hezbollah key infrastructure, along with the paramilitary groups of the Lebanese army. And those are the fresh visuals, the latest visuals we're breaking for you at this hour. Live from Beirut, this is where the war is escalating between Israel and the Lebanese groups, viewers. All right, viewers, that's Beirut's skyline on your screen right now. One of the war zone areas in West Asia. This is where war is escalating between Israel and the Lebanese paramilitary groups. We're looking at Israel now targeting several command centers, several key infrastructure of Hezbollah as well as the paramilitary groups. And the plumes of smoke you can see, these are the latest attacks carried out by the Israeli Air Force in southern Lebanon. In fact, these visuals are live from the capital city of Beirut. Again, Israel intensifying its attacks and carrying out a fresh wave of strikes in the city. In fact, you can see the plumes of smoke rising as the skyline, in fact, is visible on your screen right now. Live visuals breaking on your screen from war zone areas. This is Lebanon, the capital city, Beirut. This is where Israel is now conducting fresh wave of attacks as another front opens up for IDF. This is where Lebanese paramilitary groups, Hezbollah targets are all being hit by Israel. And you can see in the latest attack, the plumes of smoke are rising from this attack. And now, viewers, another development coming to light. China here has come in support of Iran, saying it strongly opposes the military strikes being conducted by the US and Israel against Iran. It has called for an immediate cessation of military operations to prevent further escalation in this conflict. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi emphasized that the use of force cannot truly resolve issues and will instead bring new problems and grave repercussions. The foreign minister held phone conversations with Israeli foreign minister as well, Iranian foreign minister, Oman's foreign minister as well. He's also spoken to France's foreign minister. While viewers were going back to the live shots coming to light from Beirut, this is where again another wave of attack is now being carried out by Israel. You're looking at fresh wave of attacks. All right, viewers, you're looking at a Beirut skyline. This is one of the war zone areas in West Asia. We're getting you live visuals as attacks are happening in real time in Lebanon right now. You can see the plumes of smoke rising from the latest wave of attacks carried out by Israel. Now, IDF and the Air Force, in fact, are now targeting the command centers, key infrastructure of Hezbollah, as well as the Lebanese paramilitary groups. And this is the latest wave of attack carried out by Israel. You can see the aftermath of the attack on your screen. In real time, viewers, we're getting you live visuals of the attacks of the war happening in real time on Republic TV. This is Beirut's skyline and the aftermath of the Israeli attacks on the capital city of Lebanon, visible on your screen, viewers. You can see the scale and the intensity of the attacks, in fact, from the plumes of smoke which are rising just in the Beirut skyline. Israel here has intensified its attacks on Hezbollah targets, on the paramilitary groups of the Lebanese army, clearly hitting one target after another. And this is the latest wave of attacks carried out by the Israeli Air Force and the IDF on the key infrastructure, the key targets of the Lebanese paramilitary groups in the capital city of Lebanon. This is the skyline of Beirut, viewers, one of the war zone areas in West Asia. In fact, this front has, there is a conflict going on between Hezbollah and Israel. It is an Iranian proxy which has now become more active in this conflict. And Israel has clearly issued a warning as well to Hezbollah that anyone acting on or in the favor of Iranian regime will be, in fact, given the same treatment as Iran. And now we're looking at carpet bombing by Israeli forces on several key targets located across Lebanon. But this is the visuals we're getting you from the capital city, Beirut. This is where key compounds, command centers and the key infrastructure is present of the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, and now it's on the target of the Israeli forces. We're looking at one attack after another being carried out by Israel, and those are the visuals, the aftermath of the attacks carried out by Israel in the latest, in fact. You can see the plumes of smoke rising from these buildings which have been targeted by Israeli forces. And this is the fresh wave of attack being carried out by Israel on the Lebanese capital, as it's hitting the targets of not just Hezbollah but also the Lebanese paramilitary groups. Remember, they have been involved in skirmishes along the border. Yesterday, Israel in fact allowed IDF to conduct a ground incursion into southern Lebanon. And now what we're looking at is the aerial raids also continuing, the airstrikes also continuing on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. This is the latest wave of attacks, viewers, and the aftermath visible on your screen. All right, viewers, those are the live visuals we're getting you on Republic. The war in West Asia escalates, and as and when developments happen, we're getting you live visuals of the attacks. This is from Beirut skyline. All right, viewers.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा प्योर मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello viewers, a very good afternoon. We are live and we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting to the latest coming in. So it's the 5th day of the escalation that we're seeing, the war against Iran. We'll get to all the details, expert analysis, live coverage right here. But the headlines first. Let's get started. IRGC launches 17th wave of strike against US and Israeli targets. Fresh visuals show Iranian missile dodging a US-Israeli air defense system and hitting targets. Iran releases footage of the moment an Israeli Hermes drone was shot down in Khurramabad. Iran claims complete control of Strait of Hormuz after claiming to strike 10 oil tankers for ignoring warnings. Explosions rock US Victoria base near Baghdad airport in Iraq after Iranian drone strike. Trump threatens to hold trade with Spain over military base access. Big updates coming in, viewers. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez spoken on Iran. The position of the Spanish government in this situation is clear and consistent. It is the same one we have maintained in Ukraine and also in Gaza. First of all, no to the violation of international law that protects us all, especially the most vulnerable, civilian population. Secondly, no to assuming that the world can only solve its problems through conflicts, through bombs. And finally, no to repeating the mistakes of the past. Spain saying that condemning the Iran war, making it clear that we need to protect the civilians. Huge updates coming here on Republic TV. And Spain's position very clear there. Very clear there. Spain, the president has said the position is very clear. It's the same that we have maintained in Ukraine and Gaza. No to the violation of international law that protects us all. No to assuming the world can only solve its problems through conflicts. And finally, no to the repeating of the mistakes of the past. So Spain there is saying that international law has been flouted and conflict should be avoided. And talks are more important than escalating conflict. A very strong position of Spain has come in, viewers. Remember, the attacks are continuing. It's the 5th day. It's the 5th day. Air raid sirens are being sounded all across the Gulf region. People rushing to shelters. Incoming Iranian missiles triggering very loud blasts from interception attempts which are being made. So multiple locations across Iran are also being struck. And Tehran is carrying out retaliation strikes across the region. So as the war is escalating, we see that the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has said the war is a violation of international law. This is a position that a lot of EU countries have put forward. They have asked that there should be negotiating talks and diplomacy should take over to prevent further loss of life and damage to infrastructure. I want to also talk a little bit more about what's the latest coming in, because President Trump has spoken time and again about where this war is heading. He says that the United States is prepared. President Trump has lashed out against Spain and said that he informed the U.S. Secretary of Treasury to cut all dealings with Spain. This comes after the Spanish defense minister refused to allow U.S. air operations on Iran from Spanish military bases. More about this in our next report.
The United States is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to decimate the Iranian regime. US President Donald Trump has stated that the war will go on for 4 to 5 weeks and, if required, even longer.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
Multiple European countries have decided to send their fighter jets and ships to aid in efforts. The United Kingdom has deployed choppers and counter-drone ops along with HMS Dragon. Meanwhile, France is deploying anti-missile and drone systems along with warships. Greece too is sending 2 frigates, anti-drone systems and 2 F-16 fighter jets, while Germany has allowed the US to operate from some of its bases. Spain, however, refuses to allow the US from operating out of its air bases.
Rotundamente, en las bases que hay en Morón y en Rota no se ha dado ningún tipo de asistencia, ninguno, absolutamente ninguno, a esta actuación, a estos ataques que se están realizando. Las bases, es verdad que hay un convenio con Estados Unidos, pero nosotros entendemos que ese convenio tiene que operar dentro del marco de una legalidad internacional, de que haya un amparo internacional del ámbito que sea para que se pueda realizar esas actuaciones. En este momento, la operación que están realizando los ejércitos de Israel y de Estados Unidos están actuando unilateralmente, sin un apoyo de una resolución internacional, y por tanto no están utilizando esas bases.
As a result, US President Donald Trump has threatened to cut off all trade with the country.
Spain has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it.
Spain has condemned the United States and Israel's actions as a breach of international law, reflecting the divide between the NATO nations over the conflict.
Israel is striking the Urmia University in Iran. Look at the visuals of the aftermath. Let's put out the visuals of the aftermath, because Israel is striking multiple areas, like we are telling you, across Iran. And Israel is continuing to wage attacks in Lebanon and in Iran. Israel has already launched a new wave of large-scale strikes on Tehran. Israel is also continuing to launch strikes in Lebanon. And simultaneously, Iranian attacks continue in the Gulf states. Conflict is continuing to cause big disruptions, including to airspaces. Okay, this is the Urmia University in Iran, and we can see Israel has struck this area in Iran. Back-to-back updates coming here on Republic TV, viewers. So this is coming in the backdrop of the 5th day of the war. The war has now entered its 5th day. The military conflict is continuing with Iran. Israel and Iran striking each other. US and Israel's bombardment of Iran and Lebanon is continuing with a strike on a couple of areas, hotels in Beirut and this university in Iran. Let's go straight across to our guest who is joining us, Captain Alok Bansal, Geopolitical and Strategic Affairs Analyst, Director, India Foundation, is joining us. Thank you for joining us here, Captain Alok Bansal. We are putting out pictures of Israeli strikes at a university in Iran. Visuals show the aftermath of Israeli attack on the Urmia University. There's so many strikes. Captain Alok Bansal, there's so many strikes. We see counter strikes by Iran. What is your analysis of the situation? Do you think we are looking at a de-escalation in the next few days or perhaps an escalation?
It's very difficult at this point of time to say how the war will pan out, because it depends on what the Iranian regime decides. If there is a successor and he wishes to negotiate, there is a possibility that there may be de-escalation. But I don't think so at this point of time. President Trump, and more significantly, Israel is keen on any de-escalation. Israeli interest at this point of time is to decimate the Iranian state so that it breaks into pieces. As far as US is concerned, its objectives and President Trump's intentions are still not very clear, as you have seen in the congressional briefing that was given late yesterday night, when the congressmen who have come out have said that it's very clear that they have no end plan in mind. So as far as US is concerned, they intend that they want Iran to completely subjugate itself. Iran being a civilizational state and a proud nation, it's unlikely to do so. So if US does not stop the conflict and give it a temporary reprieve where the president or somebody like him could consolidate and then broach the issue with a fresh mindset, I think this war will go on. And a prolonged war is not in US interest. It is not in Iran's interest as well.
Yes.
Because on Sunday, the US president also spoke to Kurdish leaders. So I think they are also looking at this plan, which may lead to disintegration of Iran or create disturbances inside Iran.
Captain Alok Bansal, what do you think has happened that led to President Trump from being a self-declared peace president to becoming a war president? Earlier, he said that he's all about peace. Peace is a solution. Talks are the solution. Diplomacy is a solution for any conflict. So what happened?
See, with President Trump, you can never be sure. I'm not sure even he knows why he has gone to war with Iran. So maybe he has picked up some stakes in some oil companies, because one direct result of Venezuela followed by Iran is that the oil prices have gone skyrocketed. So if he has picked up stakes in an oil company, he stands to benefit. And we have seen it very clearly that in his interest, in his case, his personal interests always dominate the nation's interest. So in that sort of a scenario, it's very difficult to say what's been the reason why he has gone for it, because Omani's foreign minister has very clearly articulated that they were very close. In fact, Iran had offered much more than what it had offered during Obama deal. So even with that sort of a deal, US decided to go for a conflict. Maybe what Marco Rubio said is probably correct, that Israel was in any case planning to go for an attack. And if that attack would have taken place, Iran's retaliation would have been against all US targets. So US probably thought that it's prudent to join the Israelis rather than to wait for the reaction. That could be the case, but Trump has negated that. Trump has said, no, they didn't force my hand, I forced theirs. So as I said, I don't think so anybody in US is wiser as to why Trump decided to go to war.
Rez, Captain Alok Bansal, I request you to hold on. I'm getting some breaking news coming in. So there's some initial reports. Let's go to some initial reports. An Israeli Air Force F-35I fighter jet shot down an Iranian Air Force fighter jet a short while ago over the skies of Tehran. This is the first shoot down in history of a manned fighter aircraft by an F-35 fighter jet. Initial reports coming in, Israeli fighter jet shoots down an Iranian jet. Let's go back to our guest, Captain Alok Bansal. Captain, we will continue seeing these kind of updates coming in. But I want to just shift our attention to the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran has said whoever tries to come close will be attacked. Do you think this threat of Iran will lead to a bigger escalation from Israel and the United States against Iran?
See, the fact of the matter is that Strait of Hormuz is virtually closed for last 3 days. In fact, there has been no movement of ships. Maybe one odd ship might have escaped, but otherwise no ship has moved from outside to inside and inside to outside. So Hormuz is already closed. And it's not a very difficult process for Iranians to close it, because if you sink one or two merchant ships in the strait is as it is closed. Now, the US is talking of escorting ships, which may work. I'm not too sure whether it may work foolproof. But yes, that is the best option they can do, that US Navy comes inside Persian Gulf and then escorts. But that would also enhance the vulnerability of US Navy, because naval ships would be going through narrow strait in a preordained path. And that makes them extremely vulnerable to any shore-based attacks or any drone attacks which actually Iranians would launch. So that's a factor. So this has a huge economic cost, and you can see the economic cost is being paid. Iraq has already curtailed its oil production and will shut down probably oil production. Qatar has shut down its gas productions. So the energy supplies to the world market are actually coming down. And this coming at a time when Russian oil has been embargoed, the Venezuelan oil is not into the market. So this is going to create a huge problem as far as the global energy requirements are concerned.
All right, Captain Alok Bansal, we have seen that across the Gulf countries, US bases have been hit by Iran. A lot of shots have been coming in. We have been showing the shots. A lot of US embassies, US bases, they have gone up in flames. Do you think the Gulf countries are passive, or they will also be joining in? The Gulf countries are suffering a lot of damage because Iran is targeting US sites.
See, I think at the moment, Gulf countries seems to be standing by. Saudi Arabia has said that they might join the offensive, and Saudi Arabia and UAE are the only countries which can join the offensive. Please understand, the other, like Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, their regimes are extremely vulnerable. In fact, all Gulf countries don't have representative regimes, and you need to understand that the street in all these countries is fiercely anti-US. But in the case of UAE, it doesn't matter, because it's generally, it is the expatriate population which predominates over the locals, so there's not going to be much of a problem. And Saudi Arabia is a relatively big country. But other smaller countries may face a problem if actually the relentless attacks by Iranians continue, especially countries like Bahrain, which is predominantly Shia, ruled by a Sunni monarchy. So these are the countries which are vulnerable, and I don't think so they would want to go actively into the combat, lest their governments actually falter.
Yes, Captain Alok Bansal, I really request you to hold on for a second there, because we have a report coming in from Dubai. Let's go to the report. We have a report coming from Dubai. Dubai, one of the most international cities in the Gulf region, was under attack from Iranian drones and missiles. But what is the situation right now? Our reporter Wang Zheng finds out.
It's almost 6 p.m. here in Tehran. I just came out to buy some medicine for my mother. Then I saw a smoke plume in west of Tehran, and I was just 2 kilometers away from my house. So I came here, and as you see behind me, it's one of the biggest smoke plumes I've seen recently. I don't know what has been exploded, what has been targeted, but it's a big one, and it's been like that in the past 45 minutes. So Tehran has been also attacked by US and Israel today, like the previous days. And of course, there are some reports that the attacks will intensify in the coming hours.
Okay, that was a report from Tehran. We also have reports from Dubai. We'll play out those Dubai reports later on. But I want to go back to our guest. Let's go back to our guest. Captain Alok Bansal is joining us back on Republic TV. Captain, so we're getting reports. That was a report from Tehran. We also report from Dubai. We'll get that ready later for our viewers. But just let's talk a little bit more about what is next in terms of this war, especially the proxies. Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, is being targeted in Beirut by Israel. We are seeing a lot of damage to infrastructure, casualties arising. Because of breaking news coming in, Captain Arnab Goswami, let's go to breaking news coming in. Iran is claiming attacking 10 oil tankers for ignoring threats. Iran attacks warships that ignored warnings on the Strait of Hormuz. We were discussing about this, Captain Arnab Goswami, about Iran's warning that please do not, they're saying whoever comes to the Strait of Hormuz, do not come here. If you come here, you will be attacked. So warships are attacked. 10 oil tankers have been attacked. Captain Alok Bansal, would you like to come in here? It looks like Iran is getting very aggressive about this, and the oil prices are rising.
Iran has already told that Strait of Hormuz is closed. Any vessel approaching Strait of Hormuz will be attacked. So oil tankers in any case are sitting ducks because they hardly have any maneuverability. They have no defense. They are highly inflammable and Iranians can easily target them. But what is significant is that your report says that some warships have been attacked. Now that's a very significant development because warships are fairly maneuverable, but even they in narrow straits are restricted. So if Iran has succeeded in attacking warships, which country's warships, it's not very clear. So that's a big achievement. And that's, as I was telling you just a few minutes back, that closing Strait of Hormuz is a child's play as far as Iranians are concerned. And if Americans are going to escort, that's probably the only way for shipping to move out of Persian Gulf. But that is also going to be a very, very difficult process for Americans, and they may have to pay a heavy price. I'm not very sure that the US administration would be willing to take that sort of risk at this juncture.
Yes. Okay. So put on those pictures. Strait of Hormuz, first on Republic TV. These are the pictures of the oil tankers who came too close, now up in flames. Iran is attacking warships that ignored warnings on the Strait of Hormuz. Reports suggest Iran struck 10 oil tankers at the Strait of Hormuz. Let's go back to our guest. Captain Alok Bansal, now how long can we see, how much longer do you think will it take for the oil prices to come down? Oil prices are rising, they're spiking, creating a lot of concerns. Supply chain has been affected, and Strait of Hormuz is a very important part of that.
See, as I said, Iran would not buckle down unless, of course, the Iranian administration negotiates. And US doesn't seem to be keen on negotiating. Israel sees it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Iranian population, let me make it very clear, has been very unhappy with their regime. But having said so, the war has actually brought most of them to rally around their flag. So most of the Iranians are rallying around the flag, although they hate the Ayatollahs and the regimes. They would want to revert back to a secular democratic regime that existed in Iran. And President Pezeshkian is actually a moderate, but has people from the clergy dominating him and his decisions. So if Iran goes for another Vilayat-e-Faqih or some similar arrangement, I feel he'll remain hemmed in. But if US and Israel manage to eliminate the clerical oversight over the president, then maybe if you give some space to the president, he may try to move Iran from its past. He may try to moderate his stance and may like to negotiate and bring us conflict to a stop. But if US and Israel continue bombing Iran and they hope that Iranians will succumb, I don't think so that's going to happen. Iranians are a proud people. Most of them will rally around the flag. The only other option is if they start stirring the periphery, because in Iran, periphery, the minorities live. You have Baloch on the west, you have Ahwazi Arabs on the southeast, you have Kurds on the southwest and Kurds on the west, and then Azeris on northwest. So these minorities may not rally around the flag as much as the Iranians would want, especially Kurds, who have a history of opposing the Iranian domination. So that's one of the angle which probably I think Israel and US are exploring, that getting Kurds to move in, because that would obviate the requirement of putting boots on ground as far as US is concerned.
Yes. Okay. Captain Alok Bansal, stay with us. Captain Alok Bansal. Also, I would like to know from you, because I think you would give a very big and a very detailed answer on this. Geopolitical and strategic affairs analyst. What really happened? What went wrong? We saw so much of negotiations happening. We saw talks happening in Geneva. Max to max, we could have expected some proxy strikes, but this is a full-blown escalation. What really happened? What went wrong here?
See, as far as the negotiations are concerned, negotiations were going on, but Israel had already made up its mind that it cannot allow Iran to function, and it wanted to go for a regime change. So Israel had decided, and in US, unfortunately, negotiations and State Department really do not matter. Once President Trump makes up his mind, he makes up his mind. And he had already started moving the carrier battle group. Now, 2 carrier battle groups moving into this arena, please understand the cost of bringing them was more than $620 million. That was the cost involved in moving them. So you can imagine the US was incurring a huge expenditure, and that sort of an expenditure you really don't do if you have no intention of doing something like this. And I think President Trump and his views on Iran, I think they have been unambiguous. In his first term, he actually derailed a perfect peace deal that had been signed by President Obama. And now in this particular second presidency, he's gone unattacked. His views on Iran have always been very, very hawkish. So that's been the case.
Okay. Okay, Captain Arnab Goswami, put out a map. We have some real-time pictures and information data coming in. Republic has access to real-time vessel movement data from Strait of Hormuz. Real-time vessel movement data of Strait of Hormuz. So we can have a look at that. And perhaps you can decode for us what are we seeing. Now, we know that, okay, with the US and Israel's war with Iran has spilled over into the Strait of Hormuz. This is one of the world's most critical energy choke points, prompting a surge in oil prices. So this is a real-time data of vessel movement from the Strait of Hormuz. Captain Arnab Goswami, would you just come in here and help us understand what we're looking at?
See, this actually shows you that there are a large number of ships which are waiting to cross Strait of Hormuz, both outside, that is in the Arabian Sea, as well as in the Persian Gulf. You can see a plethora of ships which are actually there. But there's hardly any ship crossing, because the crossing point is where actually the Iranians are targeting, and no merchant ship would want to take that sort of chance, especially an oil tanker, which is highly inflammable. Though crude doesn't inflame as much as products inflame, but still a crude tanker can be inflamed and can easily be targeted. And it's a fairly soft target as far as any military is concerned. So as a result, you can see this picture, you can see there are a huge number of ships inside Persian Gulf which are loaded, probably waiting to come out, but can't move out. Similarly, you can see that just outside Strait of Hormuz, there's a plethora of ships waiting to enter because they can't enter.
All right. Okay. So we'll put on those pictures. First on Republic, you can see this is the movement of real-time vessel movement data from the Strait of Hormuz. First on Republic TV. Very important strait, because this is exactly where the movement, supply chain movement happens. One of the world's most critical energy choke points. And this is the same place which carries 1/5 of the oil consumed globally, as well as large quantities of gas. The entire operation has come to a halt amid Iranian attacks on oil tankers in the region. All right, taking a short break, viewers. Do not go anywhere. We will continue our live coverage here on Republic TV. Let's put out some more live pictures that we are getting for you. Live pictures coming from Beirut. A short while back, Israel has attacked some areas of Beirut. One hotel has been damaged. Remember, Israel is trying to target the Hezbollah, which is acting as Iran's proxy. So this is the Lebanese capital of Beirut. Live pictures.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
खास बात वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है अरे मेरे राजा
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिम MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिम
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
Viewers, top headlines. IRGC launches 17th wave of strikes against US Israeli targets. Fresh visuals show Iranian missile dodging US Israeli air defense system and hitting targets. Iran releases footage of the moment an Israeli Hermes drone was shot down in the Khurramabad area. Iran claims complete control of the Strait of Hormuz after claiming to strike 10 oil tankers for ignoring warnings. Hundred oil tankers have been struck. It's coming in as Strait of Hormuz has been closed. Explosions rock US Victoria base near Baghdad airport in Iraq after Iranian drone strike. And Trump threatens to halt trade with Spain over military base access. Very good afternoon. We are live and we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest. With me, I have my colleague Ishita. Ishita, we're tracking the story. Fifth day of the war. Gulf states have also raised up their hands and said that the red line has been crossed because US bases in the Gulf states are being hit by Iran.
Right, of course, we're looking at Gulf states now inching to go into offensive mode from their defensive mode. In fact, viewers, we're getting a first breaking right now coming to light from West Asia, and that's regarding Iranian Foreign Minister Saeed Abbas Araghchi. He's now said when complex and nuclear negotiations are treated like a real estate transaction, and when a big lies cloud realities, unrealistic expectations can never be met. The outcome? Bombing at the negotiation table out of spite. He says Mr. Trump betrayed diplomacy. Americans who elected, in fact, the leader, he's now made a statement saying that Trump here has betrayed the diplomacy and Americans who elected the leader.
Yes, and just this statement is coming out. I'll just read it out for our viewers. Iran foreign minister saying that the outcome bombing the negotiation table out of spite. Trump betrayed diplomacy and Americans who elected him. This is a statement coming in from the Iran foreign minister and saying essentially that Trump has betrayed diplomacy and the Americans who elected him. And Ishita, this is very, very important because we have seen that Iran is on retaliation mode. It is trying to strike targets in Israel, targets in the Gulf region. They are targeting U.S. embassies. They are targeting U.S. sites. And we have showed many pictures on a screen. This is from Beirut, Lebanon, by the way. This is Israel strikes Hezbollah targets. But we also showed pictures earlier of Iran targeting U.S. sites in multiple places. Israel, in the Gulf states, a lot of U.S. sites and U.S. consulates have been badly damaged by Iranian strikes. Ishita.
Right, of course. Shivangi, what we're looking at, essentially Iran trying to justify its counter strikes, its retaliatory strikes all across Gulf, is saying that we came to the table, we were there negotiating with the US, but it was President Trump who decided that we're not going to negotiate. He handled the nuclear deal like a real estate transaction, is what the foreign minister of the Iran is now saying, clearly violating the negotiations that were going on. He says that Donald Trump not just betrayed the negotiations, the diplomacy, but also the people of America who elected him as a leader. Is now trying to justify the actions that Iran, in fact, has taken place across the Gulf states. It is hitting not just the U.S. assets, but now also hitting commercial sites, trying to weaponize Shivangi energy specifically in this war.
That's right. And we're getting these updates coming in because let's put this picture. So this is the IRGC headquarters destroyed by strikes. So we've seen that America has targeted the IRGC headquarters. So we're putting on those pictures. Okay, that is Palestine, Iranian missile dodging air defenses. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. Getting some breaking news coming in. Kuwait Army has said the General Staff of the Army announces that the armed forces are currently dealing with a wave of missiles and drones that have been detected in the airspace of the state of Kuwait, where they are carrying out their tasks in confronting and intercepting there. The General Staff affirms full readiness to deal with all threats to ensure the protection of the country's territories and airspace, as well as the safety of the citizens and residents. Kuwait confirms dealing with the wave of airstrikes. Kuwait has also been hit. And we're getting these updates coming in. The Gulf nations there, like we were discussing, Ishita, Gulf nations saying that all red lines have been crossed because they are suffering. They've taken a passive stance, but now it looks like they are also standing up to those strikes on their land.
You know, this was not their war. It was the US and Israeli operation against Iran, which took out their supreme leader. But we've seen that Gulf states are pulled in due to Iran's attack on their soil. Iran from day one has been breaching their territorial integrity. And now what we're looking at, essentially all the states coming out and saying that the red lines, boss, have been crossed and we might go into offensive mode from their defensive mode. You know, so far they have exercised restraints, but at the same time declaring that we will take actions to defend our sovereignty. And what we're looking at is the latest statement made by the Kuwaiti army, which is affirming that we are ready to deal with all the threats that will come their way, in fact, from Iran. Shivangi.
All right, so Ishita, we have a lot of reports which are coming in. We will play those reports out in a moment. Just these pictures coming from Beirut in Lebanon. A short while back, Israel has once again struck areas in Beirut, Lebanon. A lot of damage has been reported. Casualties have been reported. They have been striking Beirut for the past few days now. They want to target the Hezbollah strongholds in Beirut because Hezbollah has been firing back into Israeli territory. We're getting these updates coming in here. And we report. Let's go to a report coming in. This report is coming in from Dubai. And Dubai, one of the most international cities in the Gulf region, was under attack from Iranian drones and missiles. How is the situation now? Our reporter Wang Zheng finds out.
Currently, I'm in Dubai, and we are going to the airport and see if other things are still going on in normal in Dubai. There has been sounds of blast in UAE for past a few days, but there's no sound of blast this morning. Now we are driving on Sheikh Zayed Road heading to the airport. You can see there's much less traffic than normal. Usually it takes about 40 to 45 minutes to travel from Dubai Marina to the airport, but today, as we can see now, it only took about 20 minutes. Entering departures of Terminal 3 of Dubai International Airport. and there's no display on arrivals information. This is a baggage claim where travelers usually come and pick up their luggages. You can see currently it's empty. And for departures, there's only one screen available, and many flights are cancelled. The baggage wrapping service is closed currently. You can see there's currently no one at the wait-to-refund station. You can see there are some travelers waiting in the waiting area. Maybe they're hoping to catch on a flight leaving UAE. Are you leaving?
I'm leaving, I'm going back to India, yeah. I'm very excited, yes.
So you came here for traveling or?
Yeah, I came as a tourist.
And you arrived?
I arrived a week ago.
Yeah.
I should have left on Sunday, but I'm leaving on Tuesday today, 2 days later.
But there are tourists still stranded in Dubai.
I bought one a month ago, but the plane that should fly now is cancelled, and I cannot fly away.
We just left Dubai the International Airport on our way to Dubai Mall. We have arrived at the parking lot of Dubai Mall. You can see there are still many parking spaces. It's about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and I have arrived at the Dubai Mall, the world's largest mall, and you can probably see the visitor. There are still visitors, but the number is, I think, it's much less than previous. The Apple store in Dubai Mall overlooking the Dubai fountain is closed. Despite the situation, there are people say they still would love to stay in Dubai.
Yeah, I will stay in Dubai. I'll stay in Dubai.
After today's visit, it gives me a feeling that life goes on here in Dubai. But for some visitors, they still need to go back home.
All right, our viewers, as we continue to track developments from West Asia, we are now understanding that an Israeli airstrike has destroyed a building in Harit in Beirut's southern suburbs. Shivangi, it seems that Israel is continuing its carpet bombing in Lebanon, targeting Hezbollah command centers, and the latest attack is coming from Beirut's southern suburbs.
That's right. This is a known Hezbollah stronghold, and big updates coming here. Beirut, Lebanon, one more area which has been this is the southern area of Beirut, which is continuously being targeted. Israel is launching these airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs following the Hezbollah's rocket attack. Israeli warplanes carrying out intensive airstrikes in Beirut's southern suburbs hours after rockets are fired from Lebanese territory towards Israel. So Israel is striking multiple areas, especially Hezbollah strongholds in the southern suburbs. Many residents have left their homes and amid a lot of fears of further escalation there. Ambulances rush to the spot. There are pictures coming in. So the damage looks very, very big there because Israeli strikes continue in Beirut, Lebanon. Yes, Ishita.
Right, Shivangi. What we're looking at is Iranian proxy Hezbollah getting more and more active in this war. We've seen a muted response from the other proxies. You know, you have Hamas in Gaza, you have Houthis in Yemen. But so far in this war, there has been a muted response from those two proxies. But Hezbollah in Lebanon has become more and more active. And now yesterday only IDF forces undertook a ground incursion in Lebanon, and what we're looking today is Israeli Air Force, the IDF in action. You know, those are some strong visuals that are coming to light. You know, a massive attack carried out by Israeli Air Force in Beirut, in fact.
Getting some more breaking news coming in. Let's go to the next set of breaking news we're getting for our viewers. Clashes between joint security forces and mourners in Naval area of district of Baramula, and cops have been injured. Big updates coming here. Clashes between security forces and protesters in Baramula. This is what we see right now. A lot of clashes are also being reported. Viewers. We'll get some more updates as to what exactly is happening here. But we have Zinat. To help us understand what is happening in Baramula. Zinat, I'm coming across to you. This is in the Chinabal area of Baramula, and cops have been injured. What's the latest? We'll go back to Zinat in a short while from now to understand what the latest is. But fresh clashes being reported. This is between joint security forces and the mourners in Chinabal area of district Baramula. The cops they have also been injured in these fresh protests that we are seeing. So back-to-back updates coming here on Republic TV. And a lot of Shia Muslims are protesting the killing of Iran's supreme leader. We will have to go across to Zinat to find out more about the latest. Yes, Ishita.
Right, of course, we'll try and connect with our colleague there. Okay, Zinat is present with us. Zinat, give us the latest on these clashes reported between the Shiite monarchs and the police.
See, we are viewing the visuals that are coming from the Chanbal area. This comes in the district Baramula of North Kashmir, where we again see the clashes between the joint security forces and the mourners. Although there had been the restriction, the complete curbs has been implemented by the joint security forces. But despite, we see that the fringe elements trying to take advantage of the situation and trying to boil the situation on ground. So the clashes that are taking place that we are showing you on the screen, because see, there have been a lot of calls and also the statement that had been coming from the J&K police. There have been the advisories that are coming from the police. They are stressing that people should maintain calm and peace. There had been an appeal from the IT Kashmir itself that you have to be very cautious, because the fringe elements are trying to take the advantage of the situation. There had been an advisory from the Ministry of Home Affairs that whatever has happened in Iran, the international elements, or that these fringe elements can take the advantage of the situation, and they will try to incite the violence and break the law and order on the ground. Although in multiple parts of the Srinagar or in the Batna, where we see majority of the restrictions, it had remained peaceful in majority of the parts or the respective areas of these districts. But again, situation has turned a bit volatile as far as the Chanbal area is concerned, where the protesters, they are trying to pelt the stones, and there are the clashes that are being reported. In the meanwhile, the joint security forces are trying the best to disrupt people from the ground so that they can go back to their respective places and do not violate the law and order. Because you see, the statement yesterday had been coming from the LG Manoj Sinha that keep an eye on everything and maintain the restrictions on the ground, that nothing should go out of the hand. Then we see the CM of Jammu and Kashmir government also asking people to maintain calm. We have been seeing the missed muftis and burning the legacy of the Prime Minister of Benjamin Netanyahu and the U.S. President in her activity today at the party headquarters. She too has condemned the actions, but meanwhile we are not seeing that the situation on the ground is being maintained by the cops, because the extra efforts are being made by the Jammu and Kashmir police as far as the deployment or strengthening their nakas, the deployment parties, the infrastructure that they have mobilized. And if you see the civil part of the Srinagar streets, the civil line areas, it has been very normal. The life is moving at snail pace. Some of the shops have opened, but meanwhile the internet restrictions continue, and also the mobile phone network, the calling facility in many of the mobile services is not yet being restored as far as the prepaid services are concerned, and the people, when they try to dial numbers from the post, they don't get connected. So this is a measure that once again has been taken, seeing the situation on the ground to see that the curbs are maintained and the people do not lose their lives when the fringe elements are revolving around.
All right. Well, thank you, Zinat, for getting us all those details. Clashes erupted in Baramula during the pro-Khomeini protests. Those pro-Khomeini protests have been going on for quite a while now. U.S. President Trump has lashed out against Spain and said that he informed the U.S. Secretary of Treasury to cut all dealings with Spain. This comes after the Spanish defense minister refused to allow U.S. air operations on Iran from Spanish military bases. More about this in our next report.
The United States is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to decimate the Iranian regime. US President Donald Trump has stated that the war will go on for 4 to 5 weeks and, if required, even longer.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
Multiple European countries have decided to send their fighter jets and ships to aid in efforts. The United Kingdom has deployed choppers and counter-drone ops along with HMS Dragon. Meanwhile, France is deploying anti-missile and drone systems along with warships. Greece too is sending 2 frigates, anti-drone systems and 2 F-16 fighter jets, while Germany has allowed the US to operate from some of its bases. Spain, however, refuses to allow the US from operating out of its air bases.
Rotundamente, en las bases que hay en Morón y en Rota no se ha dado ningún tipo de asistencia, ninguno, absolutamente ninguno, a esta actuación, a estos ataques que se están realizando. Las bases, es verdad que hay un convenio con Estados Unidos, pero nosotros entendemos que ese convenio tiene que operar dentro del marco de una legalidad internacional, de que haya un amparo internacional del ámbito que sea, para que se pueda realizar esas actuaciones. En este momento, la operación que están realizando los ejércitos de Israel y de Estados Unidos están actuando unilateralmente, sin un apoyo de una resolución internacional, y por tanto no están utilizando esas bases.
As a result, US President Donald Trump has threatened to cut off all trade with the country.
Spain has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it.
Spain has condemned the United States and Israel's actions as a breach of international law, reflecting the divide between the NATO nations over the conflict.
All right, viewers, we've got some exclusive visuals from Tehran. These are strikes conducted by US and Israeli forces. They're targeting Iranian capital now. And on your screen, we'll get you visuals, in fact, in a short while. Visuals are showing you the attack that's been carried out by the US and Israeli forces on the capital city of Iran. Remember, they have been carpet bombing across the city, and specifically the capital. This is where the leadership sits. It's now being targeted. Those are the exclusive visuals on your screen. This is where Tehran is being targeted by the US and Israeli strikes continuously for the past 5 days now. And those are the latest visuals. You can see the plumes of smoke rising from the site of attacks across the capital, in fact.
Yes. Ishita, Israel has said it's begun a 10th wave of strikes in Tehran. And President Trump saying that Iran's Air Force and Navy have been knocked out. So this is what we see. Now, the strikes, the many waves of strikes. So this is what Israel is saying. This is the 10th wave of strikes in Tehran. Pictures coming in from Tehran, from Iran. Fresh airstrikes have been reported. So a continuous strike continues. Iran's foreign minister just put a statement out. We had broken that just a few minutes ago, and Iran's foreign minister has said and accused the US president of bombing Iran out of spite. So Iranian foreign minister saying that the bombing is because of spite. In a post, Arakchi says when complex nuclear negotiations are treated like a real state transaction, and when big lies cloud realities, unrealistic expectations can never be met. This was a response coming in from Iran to what is happening there. The strikes continue. US-Israel strikes continue. Iran, of course, we have been reporting this. Iran itself is conducting retaliatory strikes against Israel and the Gulf states. The Gulf states also saying that red lines have been crossed. So there is no de-escalation in sight here.
Right, of course, Shivangi, we're not looking at any cessation of hostilities or any pause in this conflict. In fact, at this point, we're looking at essentially escalation, in fact, from Gulf states.
All right. We're getting some reports which are coming in. Let's tell our viewers what is happening in Tehran. So we showed those pictures of the US and Israel strikes in Tehran. And we report coming in from Tehran, getting you the ground reality. Let's take a look.
It's almost 6 p.m. here in Tehran. I just came out to buy some medicine for my mother. Then I saw a smoke plume in west of Tehran, just 2 kilometers away from my house. So I came here. And as you see behind me, it's one of the biggest smoke plumes I've seen recently. I don't know what has been exploded, what has been targeted, but it's a big one, and it's been like that in the past 45 minutes. So Tehran has been also attacked by US and Israel today, like the previous days. And of course, there are some reports that the attacks will intensify in the coming hours. It's almost 6 p.m. here in Tehran. I just came out to buy some medicine for my mother. Then I saw a smoke plume in west of Tehran, just 2 kilometers away from my house. So I came here, and as you see behind me, it's one of the biggest smoke plumes I've seen recently. I don't know what has been exploded, what has been targeted, but it's a big one, and it's been like that in the past 45 minutes. So Tehran has been also attacked by US and Israel today, like the previous days. And of course, there are some reports that the attacks will intensify in the coming hours.
And now, viewers, as war clouds gather over West Asia, stranded Indians are finally making their way back. An Indigo flight from Jeddah landed safely in Ahmedabad, bringing home nearly 200 pilgrims. While airlines slowly are resuming their operations, uncertainty still looms, especially after claims that conflict could now continue for weeks.
An Indigo flight from Jeddah landed at Ahmedabad International Airport. Around 200 passengers who went for a pilgrimage to Makkah Medina returned safely. Republic TV spoke to the families of the people returning. They thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and also told that the flights were getting cancelled due to the ongoing turmoil in West Asia.
हमारी भारत सरकार को मैं तहे दिल से अभी भी बोल रहा हूँ, तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूँ। उन्होंने हमारे 222 हाजियों को वापस लाए, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
इंडियन गवर्नमेंट से ये कहना चाहूँगा क्या बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया था ये सब अरेंजमेंट करने के लिए, और वहाँ पर इंडियन एम्बेसी में भी हमको बहुत सपोर्ट किया सऊदी अरब में, उसके लिए भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
As days pass by, airlines have started to resume their flights, pushing towards normalcy. On the other hand, Trump claims that the war will go on for 4 to 5 more weeks.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
With stranded Indians slowly and gradually coming back to their motherland, Indians can breathe a sigh of relief for now.
Just coming in from Beirut, these pictures are of Beirut just after Israeli strikes. Ishita.
Right, of course, the live visuals of these attacks being carried out by Israeli forces on Lebanon's capital. Viewers, stay tuned. We'll get back to you on this on the other side.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very good afternoon. We are live and we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in, and with me I have my colleague Ishita. Ishita, 5th day of the war, multi-pronged war, strike after strike, casualties going up. On Republic, we also have the live analysis. What else is breaking right now, Ishita?
Right, of course, Iran here has now declared that Strait of Hormuz has become a war zone, saying it has complete control over the economic corridor. We'll get you all the latest that's breaking from the war in West Asia. But first up, let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking at this hour.
IRGC launches 17th wave of strike against the US-Israeli targets. Fresh visuals show Iranian missile dodging US-Israeli air defense system and hitting targets. Iran releases footage of the moment an Israeli Hermes drone was shot down in the Khurramabad area. Iran claims complete control of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says that it struck 10 oil tankers for ignoring warnings at the Strait of Hormuz. Explosions rock US Victoria base near Baghdad airport in Iraq after Iranian drone strike. And Trump threatens to halt trade with Spain over military base access. All right, getting you some updates coming in. Ishita, we're getting some real-time data here, and this is the Strait of Hormuz. So we have the movement data from the Strait of Hormuz. Already, Iran has closed this strait, and they have given big warnings. They've said whoever tries to cross this strait will be attacked.
Right, of course, Shivangi, we are getting some real-time vessel movement data regarding the Strait of Hormuz. It is an economic corridor. About 1/5 of the global energy supplies passes through that strait, and today it stands blocked. It has become a no-go zone. And what we're looking at is Iran issuing warning, in fact, to any ship, any oil tanker that tries to cross the strait will be attacked. We already see that 10 oil tankers were attacked today by Iran, and essentially turning the Strait of Hormuz into a war zone. We're getting you visuals, in fact, viewers, of those attacks taking place on oil tankers. And we also have data. Republic here has accessed the real-time vessel movement data of Strait of Hormuz.
That's right. Putting on those pictures which are coming out, this is real-time Strait of Hormuz data. Huge vessel lineup due to the war. And the Strait of Hormuz has also been deserted due to the war. Video shows vessels which are avoiding passage. They are avoiding getting into the choke point there, Ishita. This is a real-time data we are getting. Real-time traffic data shows Strait of Hormuz as a no-go zone. All right, let's go straight to our guest who's joining us. We have Mr. Paul, Senior Fellow and former President of the Middle East Institute. Thank you for joining us here, Mr. Paul. You're an expert in the Middle East affairs. How do you see the Gulf countries attacked by Israel responding to the strikes?
Well, this came as quite a shock to the Arab Gulf countries, the countries on the Arab side of the Gulf. They had hoped to stay neutral in this war, and they had closed, some of them had closed their airspace and bases against usage by the Americans and the Israelis, but they have found themselves certainly targeted by the Iranians, even some of those who have been very involved in the mediation, like Oman itself. The UAE has been the hardest hit, but also Bahrain as well, and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and as I mentioned, Oman. This is a big hit to their economic model. They've always claimed to be very safe and away from the instability of the Middle East, so this is very difficult for them. They had invested in a lot of aerial defense military equipment that helped them defend against most of these strikes, but some of these missile and drone strikes did get through. There's conflicting reports and whether they are considering to join the war. Probably not. They probably do not want to escalate further against Iran. And some of them are probably lobbying the Trump administration to try to end this war sooner rather than later.
Right. Mr. Paul, I want to ask you, you're present in Beirut. We're looking at Israel hitting Hezbollah targets across Lebanon. Ground offensive has also begun. What is Israel's game plan regarding Hezbollah and Lebanon?
Well, Lebanon had hoped, again, to stay out of this fight, and the Lebanese government had made it very clear that nobody should join this fight. But Hezbollah, which has recently been directly controlled by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, was given orders to open fire on Israel a few days ago, and Israel, in response, has launched a set of assassinations and airstrikes, and also is commencing a ground invasion. Its goals in Lebanon are to try to devastate, decimate, destroy Hezbollah as much as it can. And it looks like also it is reoccupying a buffer zone in South Lebanon, which is close to the northern Israeli border. So that seems to be what's happening, and Hezbollah continues to lob missiles on Israel. Not too much strategic effect, but they're still doing that. Sadly, the price has been paid by the people of the south, most of them generally supporters of the Hezbollah group, but now displaced again by the hundreds of thousands and having to find shelter wherever they can.
Mr. Paul, I really request you to hold on there. We're getting some breaking news. I'll just put attention to the breaking news we're getting for our viewers. And let's go to the breaking news. The Israeli army has concluded a broad wave of attacks against regime targets across Iran. A storage site for the Qadir missiles in Isfahan was targeted. So big breaking news coming in here on Republic TV. And latest, as it's the fifth day of the escalation. Israeli army has concluded a broad wave of attacks against regime targets across Iran, and a storage site of missiles in Isfahan has been targeted. Putting on those pictures coming in for you. Israel continues its targeted strikes across Iran. I really want to get our guest back, Mr. Paul, back with us. Mr. Paul, as we show our pictures, the pictures that Republic is getting of the strikes in Iran, the Israeli strikes in Iran. Let's talk about Iran's proxy, Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah is being targeted by Israel, specifically in Beirut. southern Beirut, to be more specific. Has the Hezbollah leadership been cornered? Are they eliminated? Because they seem to be fighting back.
Well, much of the Hezbollah leadership was killed a year and a half ago when Israel launched a major offensive against Hezbollah. There wasn't much left of the senior Hezbollah leadership. And since then, it's really been the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their officers that have been managing and running Hezbollah directly in Lebanon. And the decision to open this front from Lebanon did come from Tehran. Hezbollah still has some capacities in Lebanon to launch missiles. They are not having much of a strategic effect, but from the perspective of Iran, it does pin down some Israeli forces, some Israeli aircraft, some Israeli attention that now has to be devoted to Lebanon. They're hoping that will relieve at least a little bit of pressure from the attacks that are happening on Iran directly. But Hezbollah originally was supposed to be a deterrent for Israel so that Israel would not attack Iran directly. We are way beyond that. Hezbollah can no longer serve a real strategic purpose.
Right. Mr. Paul, shifting your attention to another flashpoint in this war, that's the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iranians are blocking the strait, and there's certainly repercussions on energy supplies worldwide. How do you look at that impact? And also, can there be a solution for the countries that depend entirely on that strait?
Well, certainly there's been, the strait has basically come to a halt since the first hours of this war broke out 5 days ago. So this is nothing new. The insurance companies and the private companies that transport oil through the Straits of Hormuz certainly do not want to take the risk of trying to sail through. Now, the oil markets are a little bit soft globally. Already, however, there's been a rise in the price of oil, not dramatic. The real question is how long will this blockage last? I think global markets, while prices are rising, can manage a blockage of 2-3 weeks. Yes, there will be pressures on inflation, pressures on energy prices, but maybe not very dramatic. But if this extends beyond a month to 2 months or 3, then I think the impact on oil prices will be very dramatic. It might lead to a global economic recession, and certainly will be a crisis point for many countries that are particularly dependent on energy flowing through that choke point. As you mentioned, there's about 15% of global oil that goes through there, and about 20% of global liquefied natural gas.
Okay, Mr. Paul, I really request you to hold on. We're getting some more breaking news, live coverage here. So we're getting some breaking news. A Canadian Prime Minister has spoken out, and Canadian Prime Minister Carney says Iran conflict is a failure of the international order. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said that the ongoing conflict in the Middle East was a failure of the international order, and the US had not consulted its allies before striking Iran. The current conflict is another example of the failure of the international order despite decades of UN Security Council resolutions. The work of the International Atomic Energy Agency in a succession of sanctions and diplomatic frameworks. Carney has said this. So one reaction which is coming in there, very similar to what the Spanish premier had said. Let's bring in Mr. Paul back here. A lot of these countries, Canada, Spain, in fact EU, they said that this is a failure of international law. This has been the stand of these nations. Your response?
Yeah, well, it's a reminiscent it's reminiscent of the events that led to the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, which also did not go through the United Nations and was condemned by many European countries. I forget exactly what the Canadian position was. We are once again in a situation where the U.S., in coordination in this case with Israel, is operating certainly outside of the bounds of the United Nations and international law. The Trump administration has made it very clear that they don't consider themselves bound by the UN or the Security Council or international law. We saw that already in the operations in Venezuela, and certainly we see it in the operations against Iran. I would say, what we're seeing now maybe is a failure to properly manage the diplomacy that was ongoing between the U.S. and Iran. There were talks. The Omani mediator said a few hours before the war erupted that a lot of progress had been made. Now, exactly who's to blame that there was not enough progress? The Trump administration's demands were clear, but were very maximalist. Iran was not willing to meet them, but there was a negotiation, and sadly, we rushed into war rather than trying mediation to the very end.
Right. Mr. Paul, I want to ask you, but how is this faring for US President Donald Trump? You're looking at European countries only participating in defensive mode. You have Spain and now Canada as well coming out and saying that this is a failure of international order and essentially blaming US for not consulting its allies before this strike.
Well, that's certainly the case. As you know, the relations between the Trump administration and most of its NATO allies actually have been very strained over Ukraine, over Greenland, as you recall, just a couple of months ago. So this is not new, but I think a lot will depend on the outcome of this war. Keep in mind that Iran has been supporting the Russian invasion of Ukraine, has been providing drones in particular to bolster the Russian military effort in Ukraine. The European countries consider Iran to have already interfered in a war inside Europe against the countries of Europe in support of Russia. So if the war ends with a defeat of the Islamic Republic, I don't think many in Europe will be unhappy about that. I don't think many people in the Middle East will be unhappy about that. But right now, the war has not reached a conclusion. It is simply causing massive disruption. There's already a lot of inflation in Europe because of the rise in liquefied natural gas prices. So right now, it's a crisis that is affecting Europe and affecting the global economy in a negative way. But it depends how this war ends. Then the different countries will take a position vis-a-vis the outcome. And it's too early to say what the outcome will be.
All right, Mr. Paul, I really request you to hold on because we're getting some more breaking news coming in. Let's go to the next set of breaking updates we're getting for our viewers. It's a missile perspective footage of the IDF. Israeli Air Force precisely dismantling a defense system in Tehran. During Operation Roaring Lion, the Israeli Air Force targeted dozens of Iranian defense systems, expanding the IDF's aerial superiority throughout Iran. Attached to the footage from the perspective of the missile of a strike of the regime's defense systems in Tehran to eliminate threats in the skies of Tehran, IDF has released this video of dismantling defense system in Tehran. Let's put out that video. Okay, you see it on your screen. And they're dismantling defense systems in Tehran. So targeting a lot of the military sites in Tehran and in Iran. I want to go back to our guest, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, we know that IRGC's military sites have been targeted both by Israel, like we are seeing there, and by the United States. But it looks like they're ready to fight. They're fighting. IRGC looks like they want to preserve their sovereignty.
Well, certainly, I mean, the war has settled into a phase of trying to figure out whose stockpile of weapons will last longer. The Iranians, obviously, as this video shows, and as the last days have demonstrated, the Israelis and the Americans have been going after Iran's ability to launch missiles and its ability to launch drones. But Iran has continued to be able on a daily basis to launch missiles and drones in a way that's extremely punishing to the Gulf countries. It's closed the Straits of Hormuz. It's hit a lot of American bases, killed a number of Americans, and continues to hit Israel. At the same time, on the Israeli and American and Arab Gulf side, they are expending a lot of munitions in their aerial defense rockets and capacities to defend themselves against the Iranian missiles and drones. The question is, who will run out first? Will the Iranians run out of the capacity to launch missiles and drones? Or will the Arab countries, the US and Israel, run out of stockpiles to defend themselves from incoming missiles and drones? That's really right now where the war is. And that will be determined in the next few days to see who has the upper hand.
So, Mr. Paul, we'll have to see how this conflict goes forward, which side, in fact, this is going to turn out. And now, Mr. Paul, I request you to stay on with us. We've got some reports coming to light. Shivangi, take us through the latest reports.
Yeah, we're getting some more reports for our viewers. Iran's Assembly of Experts is under pressure to elect Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khomeini, as the next supreme leader. Now, this comes after Iran's former supreme leader Ayatollah Khomeini was killed 4 days ago in the joint US-Israel airstrikes in Tehran. Sources say IRGC is insisting on a swift appointment of the next leader amid the ensuing war. Official announcements are expected soon. Here's more.
Mojtaba Khamenei, son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has declared himself as Iran's new supreme leader following the death of his father. This comes as the US and Israel strikes against Iran have turned West Asia into a war zone. Iran's counterattacks have intensified in the region with several US military bases targeted. Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz and halted the transit of ships in the region. France, UK and Greece have joined the war by sending choppers, drones and anti-missile systems. The death of Ayatollah Khamenei has thrown a leadership vacuum. Filling the vacuum, Mojtaba has now declared himself as the new supreme leader. Despite his lack of political experience, he wields strong influence over the IRGC. Mojtaba was first believed to have been killed among the top 40 Iranian leaders during the Saturday strike, but he survived and is now ready to lead Iran. He now takes charge of a country that has strongly vowed to avenge his father.
All right, viewers, we're getting some more developments from the war zone areas with both the sides not backing off. IRGC has now released a footage of Israeli Hermes drones being downed in Al-Broz province. Those are the latest visuals we're getting to you, viewers. We'll come back to those visuals in a short while, but that's the latest. Israeli drones are now being downed by IRGC. They've now released a footage of how the Hermes drone was in fact shot down by IRGC. This took place in Al-Broz province of Iran. So, Shivangi, it seems that, despite the aggression shown by Israel and the US, Iran here is not backing off, continuously engaging in counterattacks on both the sides. It is firing missiles and at the same time shooting down Israeli drones.
That's right. Iran's foreign minister has also said that Tehran is determined to defend itself, confront what he termed was US-Israeli aggression. I want to go back to, I guess, Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, we got a statement coming in from the Iran foreign minister, and he's saying very, very clearly that we have never initiated any war, have not attacked any neighboring country. However, under the UN Charter, self-defense is an inherent right. Iran's response is strictly directed at bases from which actions have been carried out against our territory. So they're very, very keen on making sure that they defend themselves. They're calling it self-defense. And they're saying that this is a spiteful attack by President Trump.
Well, certainly they have the right to self-defense, and that's what justified their attacks on Israel in the war last year, and would justify their attacks on U.S. bases in the region, and they've said that openly. But there was no justification that, in that sense, none of the Gulf countries or Jordan attacked Iran. To the contrary, they were very much neutral in this fight, and yet Israel has launched hundreds of missiles and drones against all of these Gulf countries. These Gulf countries have denounced this aggression from Iran. They were not part of an Israeli-American attack on Iran. So that is a major problem. I do want to comment on the very important news, whether it's confirmed, we will see in the next hours, that perhaps Mr. Mojtaba Khomeini is to be the next supreme leader of Iran. That would be a very, very significant development. His name was in the running for a long time in the last years as maybe a potential successor to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has now been killed. The IRGC was already the strongest player in the Islamic Republic, and now will be increasingly so, calling the main shots, and Mujtaba Khamenei appears to be their candidate. As for the war itself, certainly Iran is pulling out all the stops and is fighting on all fronts and still able to pack a very significant punch. We don't know exactly how the war will end, but either way, for the next leader of Iran, once this war ends, that leader will be faced with a huge set of enormous challenges. The economy already, the country, even before this war erupted, was in very, very poor shape. The majority of Iranians are opposed to the regime. The economy is in a very, very bad state. The security situation, as you can see, is terrible. And for a younger leader like Mujtaba Khamenei to come in and want to plan a strategic course for Iran over the next 20, 30 years, certainly they're going to have to make a lot of major strategic decisions for the country. They cannot maintain this posture of open-ended war for much longer.
Right, Mr. Paul, it's going to be a tough road ahead for Mujtaba Khamenei, who takes over after his father was killed in a US-Israeli operation. Thank you, Mr. Paul, for joining us live from Beirut, giving us all your perspective on these developments coming to light from war zone areas. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Paul, there. And we have a report coming in from Dubai. Dubai, one of the most international cities in the Gulf region, was under attack from Iranian drones and missiles. How is the situation now? Our reporter Wang Zheng finds out.
Currently, I'm in Dubai, and we are going to the airport and see if other things are still going on in normal in Dubai. There has been sounds of blast in UAE for past a few days, but there's no sound of blast this morning. Now we are driving on Sheikh Zayed Road heading to the airport. You can see there's much less traffic than normal. Usually it takes about 40 to 45 minutes to travel from Dubai Marina to the airport, but today, as we can see now, it only took about 20 minutes. We are entering departures of Terminal 3 of Dubai International Airport, and there's no display on arrivals information. This is a baggage claim where travelers usually come and pick up their luggages. You can see currently it's empty. And for departures, there's only one screen available, and many flights are cancelled. The baggage wrapping services is closed currently. You can see there's currently no one at the duty refund station. You can see there are some travelers waiting in the waiting area. Maybe they're hoping to catch on a flight leaving UAE. Are you leaving?
I'm leaving, I'm going back to India, yeah. I'm very excited, yes.
So you came here for traveling, or?
Yeah, I came as a tourist, and
you arrived?
I arrived a week ago.
Yeah.
I should have left on Sunday, but I'm leaving on Tuesday today, 2 days later.
But there are tourists still stranded in Dubai.
I bought one a month ago, but the plane that should fly now is cancelled, and I cannot fly away.
We just left Dubai International Airport on our way to Dubai Mall. We have arrived at the parking lot of Dubai Mall. You can see there are still many parking spaces. It's about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and I have arrived at the Dubai Mall, the world's largest mall, and you can probably see the visitors. There are still visitors, but the number is, I think it's much less than previous. The Apple store in Dubai Mall overlooking the Dubai fountain is closed. Despite the situation, there are people who say they still would love to stay in Dubai.
Yeah, I will stay in Dubai. I'll stay in Dubai.
After today's visit, it gives me a feeling that life goes on here in Dubai. But for some visitors, they still need to go back home.
All right, taking a short break, viewers. We will continue our live coverage. Ishrita, what do we have on the other side?
Right, of course. On the other side, we get you all the developments coming to light from West Asia as Iran declares Strait of Hormuz becomes a war zone.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
In the India Today Best Universities Survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are JNU Delhi, Amity University, AIMS Delhi, IIT Delhi, and National Law School Bengaluru.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
IRGC launches 17th wave of strikes against US-Israeli targets. Fresh visuals show Iranian missile dodging the US-Israeli defense system and hitting targets. Iran releases footage of the moment an Israeli Army's drone was shot down in Khurramabad. Iran claims complete control of Strait of Hormuz. Declaring a Strait of Hormuz a war zone, Iran strikes over 10 oil tankers. Explosions rock a US Victoria base near Baghdad airport in Iraq after Iranian drone strike.
Some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all.
Donald Trump threatens to halt trade with Spain over military base access. All right, viewers, our top focus at this hour. Media reports are now claiming that Saudi's Aramco facility has been struck again, and this time by unknown projectile. The projectile hit Saudi's Aramco refinery. It has been reported that a projectile hit Saudi's Aramco refinery, the biggest domestic oil refinery operated by Saudi Aramco. Now, Saudi's defense ministry spokesperson has said that initial assessments of the attack on the refinery indicate that it was carried out by a drone and caused no damage. So that's the big takeaway. The latest attack on Saudi's Aramco refinery was carried out by a drone, but no damage has been reported, is what Saudi's minister is now saying. In fact, regarding the latest attack, it's the defense ministry spokesperson who has now highlighted that no damage has been reported. It's the biggest oil refinery in the region, and it has been coming under attacks by Iranian attacks ever since the war started. Remember, Iran here has been weaponizing energy, hitting energy targets, energy infrastructure all across Gulf nations, and Saudi's Aramco factory had come under attack earlier as well, and this time in fact, again by a drone, but no damage has been reported. Now, viewers, another development coming to light. South African Cyril Ramaphosa, president, has now issued a statement regarding the tensions between Iran and Israel and the war in West Asia. He says what is currently happening in the Middle East is very concerning. I have spoken to some heads of the state in the region to pass our commiserations and urge them to prioritize the safety of all civilians. South Africa here has issued a clear statement calling for a ceasefire, saying that dialogue is always the best way to end conflict. South Africa also now issuing a statement regarding the war in West Asia, saying that all the developments coming to light are very concerning. We must ensure the safety of civilians in these war zone areas. President Cyril Ramaphosa clearly emphasizing that a ceasefire must take place and dialogue is the way forward. That's the statement coming in from South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, viewers. All right, that's the statement made by South Africa regarding the tensions in West Asia, regarding the war that's now unfolding between US, Israel allies on one side and Iran on the other. South Africa says a dialogue is the way forward and must ensure the safety of civilians present in these war zone countries. That's what the South African president has now said. As tensions continue to escalate in West Asia, the war underway between Iran and Israel and the US, we've seen it's a day 5. There has no pause of hostilities. In fact, Ariela Rosenthal, Director of International Relations, Ashdod Municipality, joins us live from Ashdod. Thank you, Ariela, for joining us from Israel. I want to ask you, first of all, Iran has been hitting targets all across Israel, also targeting civilian areas. So with regard to the security situation, what is the atmosphere in the country right now?
Well, regarding the US and Israel, Iran continues to trigger retaliation strikes on Israel and the neighboring Gulf states, and plunging, of course, the region into fear and uncertainty. Israel is striking Lebanon and targeting the Iran-backed militant group of the Hezbollah and issuing evacuation orders for dozens of villages, since the Hezbollah, directed by Iran, is a very strong proxy of Iran and now continue to fire on Israel. Yesterday and today we had several alerts and missile bombardments from Iran, but the state of Israel and its citizens are very well drilled with emergency, and thank God that only property and a few injuries have been faced and there's no fatalities.
Right, of course, Ariela, we're looking at another front for Israel opening up with Hezbollah also continuing their attacks. You know, we've seen IDF starting its ground invasion as well into Lebanon. What is Israel's game plan when it comes to the threat coming from Hezbollah in Lebanon?
Well, the Hezbollah, like the Hamas and the Houthis, are a proxy of Iran. And Israel, since the last war, has informed them that that they should not intervene and they should stop, implementing their terroristic attacks on Israel. So the IDF has, of course, announced also that they're prepared already in ahead of time a program how to deal with the Hezbollah and the violation of the agreement. And now, as we see that they are backing the proxy of Iran and the terroristic regimes, so Israel, of course, is with full force. And I'm happy to hear for the first time, of course, that the Lebanese government condemned and banned the Hezbollah's military action against Israel. So the IDF, the state of Israel, and we, the people of Israel, are backing our government and all that have to do with the Hezbollah to eliminate the immediate threat on the state of Israel.
Right. Ariela, do continue to stay with us on broadcast. Right now, we're getting some live visuals. This is live coverage. Some more live visuals are coming in regarding Cyprus and the Iran war. We're getting some visuals from Limassol port. Remember, Cyprus has come under attacks. British runaways were attacked by Iranian strikes. And now we're looking at some action unfolding on the island as well. These are live shots of Hellenic FDI HN frigate from Limassol port. All right, in fact, it's a French frigate which has now been sent to Cyprus. Remember, more and more European countries are also getting pulled into this West Asia war. This is after Iran conducted attacks on Cyprus. Now, Iran's warship, the frigate, in fact, has arrived on the island. And we're getting you live visuals. Viewers on Republic, we're breaking developments in a West Asian war as they happen. And these are live visuals coming to light. French in fact, a frigate on your screen right now in Cyprus. This is after Iran conducted several attacks on British runaways on the island, in fact, viewers. All right, Ariella continues to stay with me, in fact, from Ashdod, Israel. Ariella, coming back to you, what we're looking at essentially is the widening of the conflict. First, the Gulf countries were pulled in due to the attacks by Iran, and now we're also looking at European countries actively participating in this war. How do you see this going forward?
Well, unfortunately, all what now they said for over 20 years, regarding the terrorist regime of Iran, that what will happen if they will have ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, we see today that all what Israel has sent along the years, and nobody wanted to hear us or hear what the country conveyed, finally see that it's true. So, if they have now ballistic missiles that reach the Cyprus, what do you think will be in the near future? They won't have, in a year, 2 years, new nuclear weapons, further anti-Pacific missiles that will reach Spain, France, and the US. So I'm happy that we have now had to eliminate this immediate threat that for years the State of Israel has told the security, the UN, and all the global community, but nobody wanted to listen or choose to understand the situation. Now, people that live in the Gulf states, that live in the region, understand what Israel has been going through via the proxies for more than 20 years. If it was the Hamas, if it was the Hezbollah, the Houthi. So, unfortunately, this is the importance of eliminating the regime from Tehran, the terrorist regime that has claws in all the global world.
Right, of course. Ariel, I'll come back to you on these more developments, but stay with us. We've got some live reports also coming to light from war zone areas. I'll come back to you on that. Now, viewers, US President Donald Trump has lashed out against Spain and said that he informed the US Secretary of Treasury to cut all the dealings with the country. And this comes after the Spanish defense minister refused to allow US air operations on Iran from Spanish military bases. More in this report.
The United States is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to decimate the Iranian regime. US President Donald Trump has stated that the war will go on for 4 to 5 weeks and, if required, even longer.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
Multiple European countries have decided to send their fighter jets and ships to aid in efforts. The United Kingdom has deployed choppers and counter-drone ops along with HMS Dragon. Meanwhile, France is deploying anti-missile and drone systems along with warships. Greece too is sending 2 frigates, anti-drone systems and 2 F-16 fighter jets, while Germany has allowed the US to operate from some of its bases. Spain, however, refuses to allow the US from operating out of its air bases.
Rotundamente, en las bases que hay en Morón y en Rota no se ha dado ningún tipo de asistencia, ninguno, absolutamente ninguno, a esta actuación, a estos ataques que se están realizando. Las bases, es verdad que hay un convenio con Estados Unidos, pero nosotros entendemos que ese convenio tiene que operar dentro del marco de una legalidad internacional, de que haya un amparo internacional del ámbito que sea, para que se pueda realizar esas actuaciones. En este momento, la operación que están realizando los ejércitos de Israel y de Estados Unidos están actuando unilateralmente, sin un apoyo de una resolución internacional, y por tanto no están utilizando esas bases.
As a result, US President Donald Trump has threatened to cut off all trade with the country.
Spain has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it.
Spain has condemned the United States and Israel's actions as a breach of international law, reflecting the divide between the NATO nations over the conflict.
All right, viewers, we've got another breaking news coming to light. A Russian-flagged sanctioned LNG oil tanker has now been fired on in the Mediterranean. This is according to our sources. Crew located in the lifeboat of the Libya. In fact, the Russian-flagged liquefied natural gas tanker Arctic Metagas is on fire, is what we understand in the Mediterranean. Maritime security sources have now revealed, while Malta's armed forces say that the vessel's crew had been located safe in a lifeboat within Libya's search and rescue operations. The vessel, which is under US and UK sanctions, last reported its position as a sailing off on the coast of Malta on Monday, according to ship tracking data on the platform. Now, the vessel may have been attacked by a naval drone, with Ukraine suspected of carrying out this operation. One of the sources also say that without providing evidence, Malta's armed forces say that they had received a distress message from this vessel. In fact, visuals on your screen, a Russian tanker has been attacked, is what we're given to understand. Those are the visuals on your screen. Viewers, Ariala, coming back to you, you said, you're happy that more and more European countries and, allies are coming in this fight against Iran. But Iran certainly is not backing off. It is firing missiles continuously. It is engaging with Israeli drones, the US attacks as well. And with the kind of stockpile it has of, drones, missiles, how do you see this going forward?
I think this is a survival for the Ayatollah regime. So they're doing, whatever they can to continue their regime. But they should not, Israel and the US, as you see, unfortunately, have the best, military in the world. So I have lots of faith in my countries. We have the best IDF, and we can see on ground exactly what Israel is doing. Yes, throughout the years, even since the 12-day war last year with Iran, they continued their nuclear project. So what we must sit and wait for this ongoing threat to the survival state of Israel. So unfortunately, it's not a war that we want. Israel does not seek war. We do seek peace, as we did with the Abraham Accords and further peace agreements that we had with other countries in the last years. So Israel, it's a true threatening on our country and on our people. So the same on the US. So they have to do all that they must do in order to stop this regime.
Right. So what you're saying is that it's a survival battle for Iran at this point. Ariel, I'll come back to you. Some more breaking developments coming to light from war zone areas. British Navy here has confirmed explosion on an oil tanker near United Arab Emirates. Debris from an unknown projectile was found on the deck. In fact, the US Navy, it seems, has now confirmed an explosion on an oil tanker near UAE, which means British assets are also coming under attack by Iran. This time it's the Navy, the Royal Navy, in fact, which has confirmed the explosion on an oil tanker near UAE. Coming back to you, Ariella, on this. In fact, Ariella, I'll come back to you, but we also have some reports coming to light from Tehran. Let's take a look at this ground report that tells us how the war is unfolding in the capital of Iran.
It's almost 6 p.m. here in Tehran. I just came out to buy some medicine for my mother. Then I saw a smoke plume in west of Tehran, and I was just 2 kilometers away from my house. So I came here, and as you see behind me, it's one of the biggest smoke plumes I've seen recently. I don't know what has been exploded, what has been targeted, but it's a big one, and it's been like that in the past 45 minutes. So Tehran has been also attacked by US and Israel today, like the previous days. And of course, there are some reports that the attacks will intensify in the coming hours.
All right, another breaking development coming to light. Finland has now condemned the attack on UAE. Finland President Alexander says today, I spoke with Her Highness Sheikh Mohammed and I've offered my deepest condolences on the casualties and the destruction of the assets of the UAE, and its people have suffered under Iran's strikes. Finland here has come out with a strong statement of viewers condemning Iran's strikes, calling them that they cannot be justified. They are indiscriminate strikes on UAE and the whole region. They're firmly placed their stand, saying that we stand with our friends. We've also discussed the situation of Finnish nationals in United Arab Emirates. Our officials are coordinating closely. That's the statement coming in from the Finland president regarding Iran's attack on UAE, giving the support to the Gulf nation while also condemning the indiscriminate strikes by Iran. Now, Ariella, Rosenthal continues to stay with us on broadcast. Ariella, coming back to you now, what we're looking at is more and more countries being pulled into this war. But I want to ask you about Israel and the US's stated objective of this operation. Now, the first stated objective was to have a regime change in Iran. But now we're looking at the son of Khamenei emerging as the supreme leader in the country, which means certainly not a regime change.
Yes, so one of the aims of the war were not only, from my perspective, the elimination of the nuclear weapons and the ballistic missiles, but also the change of Tehran's regime. I must say that Netanyahu has said a couple of times that the aim and the goal of the war is not against the people of Iran, but to give them the maneuver now to take in chance and change and, uprise. But at the moment, also President Trump said, along with that the people of Iran must now sit and wait aside, and he will give them the signal when to begin the uprising, because it's very dangerous. So we will wait and see what will happen. But at the end of the day, it's very important us to remember that the state of Israel and the US are only targeting military plants and not civilians, unlike Iran, who is launching bombastic and ballistic missiles not only on military targets but also on civilians. And that's what they are doing also in the Gulf and in other parts of the world.
All right, Ariella, thank you so much for joining us from Israel, giving us live updates of the situation on the ground and also the other developments coming to light from West Asia. Thank you so much. Now we are shifting focus. The US President Donald Trump has lashed out against Spain and said that he informed the US Secretary of Treasury to cut all the dealings with the country. And this comes after the Spanish defense minister refused to allow US air operations on Iran from Spanish military bases. More in this report. Take a look.
The United States is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to decimate the Iranian regime. US President Donald Trump has stated that the war will go on for 4 to 5 weeks and, if required, even longer.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
Multiple European countries have decided to send their fighter jets and ships to aid in efforts. The United Kingdom has deployed choppers and counter-drone ops along with HMS Dragon. Meanwhile, France is deploying anti-missile and drone systems along with warships. Greece too is sending 2 frigates, anti-drone systems and 2 F-16 fighter jets, while Germany has allowed the US to operate from some of its bases. Spain, however, refuses to allow the US from operating out of its air bases.
Rotundamente, en las bases que hay en Morón y en Rota no se ha dado ningún tipo de asistencia, ninguno, absolutamente ninguno, a esta actuación, a estos ataques que se están realizando. Las bases, es verdad que hay un convenio con Estados Unidos, pero nosotros entendemos que ese convenio tiene que operar dentro del marco de una legalidad internacional, de que haya un amparo internacional del ámbito que sea, para que se pueda realizar esas actuaciones. En este momento, la operación que están realizando los ejércitos de Israel y de Estados Unidos están actuando unilateralmente, sin un apoyo de una resolución internacional, y por tanto no están utilizando esas bases.
As a result, US President Donald Trump has threatened to cut off all trade with the country.
Spain has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it.
Spain has condemned the United States and Israel's actions as a breach of international law, reflecting the divide between the NATO nations over the conflict.
Now, viewers, on the other side, the war in West Asia escalates. Iran declares the Strait of Hormuz a war zone, and Israel continues its strikes on Lebanese capital.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आरप्योर मसाला।
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आरप्योर मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आरप्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rakshita Mishra from the studios here, and my colleague Ishita continues to join on the broadcast, and we will be bringing you each and every update on the war in West Asia, from the scenes of destruction in Iran and beyond. Also, the update on the newly appointed Supreme Leader of Iran. We'll get you everything, but first, a quick check of the headlines.
IRGC launches 17th wave of strikes against US-Israeli targets. Fresh visuals show Iranian missile dodging US-Israeli air defense system and hitting targets. Iran releases footage of the moment an Israeli Hermes drone was shot down in Khurramabad. Iran claims complete control of the Strait of Hormuz after claiming to strike 10 oil tankers for ignoring warnings. Explosions rock a US Victoria base near Baghdad airport in Iraq after Iranian drone strike.
Some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all.
Donald Trump threatens to halt trade with Spain over military base access.
We have some breaking news coming in right now from Iran. Israel has struck the Urmia University now in Iran, as we bring you the visuals of the aftermath of that Israeli strike on the university. This is the visual that we are going to play out on the airstrikes. These are fresh airstrikes from Israel by Israel on Iran. And this is the video of the aftermath. You can see this building. This is a university, the Urmia University, that has been completely demolished in the Israeli airstrikes. And this is in the West Azerbaijan province of Iran, and this is called the Urmia University. In fact, this is West Azerbaijan. It's called Azerbaijan province, and this is it's a very, very old building. It's a very, very old university, and it has been now targeted. In fact, we will be bringing you more updates on the other areas, the locations that have been hit in Israeli strikes. And in fact, we have some more breaking news coming in, Ishita. The reports of Iran's Assembly of Experts now completing its
And of course, there's a report about Iran's Assembly of Experts, which has completed its vote. The name of the new Supreme Leader, in fact, will be announced in the coming hours. Rakshita, is what we're given to understand. That's the latest coming in regarding the new leader. Now, that's the first announcement that has been made regarding Iran's new leader, who takes over after Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in the operation. So this is certainly looking at Iran now getting a top leadership after there was a vacuum. Rakshita.
Absolutely. The name of the new leader will be announced. What we are hearing is that the second eldest son of Ayatollah Khamenei, the slain leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, could be taking over. In fact, this could be just an official announcement, what we understand from Iran as far as the new supreme leader is concerned. He's a son of Ayatollah Khamenei, and Mojtaba is also a middle senior level cleric also in Iran. And the Assembly of Experts will be joining us. Okay, we have James Marlowe, who is joining us. He's an international affairs and defense analyst, and he's live from London. Mr. Marlowe, you think that the United States and Israel somewhere have miscalculated? Do they have a plan in place for who's going to really run Iran? What's going to happen? Because clearly we see right now it's likely that Mojtaba Khamenei will be taking over. He's the second eldest son of the slain leader Ayatollah Khamenei. It somewhere gives even more legitimacy to the rule of Khamenei.
Well, I hope he has a lot of life insurance, I can tell you that. To answer your question, no, I don't think that this was a miscalculation on behalf of the United States and Israel. The Israelis and the Americans believed that the Iranians were lying, that they actually were building nuclear weapons. I just heard a short time ago the the International Atomic Energy Agency, actually were blocked from going in to seeing some of their plants, as we had said about 10 years ago during that awful JCPOA agreement under President Obama in 2015. I'm now hearing as well that as I just looked to actually, I should just tell you, I don't know where this is coming from, but I've been notified about this. At least 101 are missing after a submarine attack on an Iranian ship which is off the coast of Sri Lanka. If that's true, that would be the fourth warship sunk by a submarine since World War II. So that's very interesting. But getting back to the point, the Israelis and the Americans really believed, very much so, that they were on nuclear weapons, that they were going towards that. And I have to tell you that an astonishing interview that came out from Steve Witkoff, which was done to Fox News, I believe, early yesterday morning. And I'm going to quote this because I just found it fascinating. Steve Witkoff actually said this. When they went into the negotiations, which was, if you remember, in Oman, that was the first round of negotiations, and they sat down, the first thing that the actual Iranians said to the American delegation, which was Witkoff and which was Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the president, of course, that we control 460 kilograms, which is of 60%, meaning enriched uranium. And that will be enough for us to build 11 nuclear bombs. That was their opening statement, according to Steve Witkoff. He relayed that to Donald Trump. Donald Trump believed that there was going to be a preemptive strike on American bases, and therefore that's the reason why the Israelis and the United States made a preemptive strike on Iran itself. Now, Iran has hit out, which is quite a surprise, to at least 10 countries within the region, including Cyprus and Gulf states. They're specifically going after the tourist spots in the Gulf states, which is scaring a huge amount of European and other travelers because they have never experienced something like this before. They're hearing the air raid shelters. They're actually getting notifications on their phones. And at the same time, they're also hearing explosions as some of these air defense systems are shooting down these explosions. Now, they're getting a taste, and of course, I'm not wishing this upon anyone, but they're getting a taste of exactly what Israelis have gone through for the last 20 years or so. And this has now been widened as a result of Iran and its regime.
Right. Mr. Marlowe, I'll request you to stay on with us on this broadcast. We're getting some exclusive reports. This is a live coverage of the war zone areas. We're getting some reports from Kuwait showing the skyline. The report here showcases the present situation of Kuwait. Remember, Gulf countries are also coming under attack, continuous attacks by Iran. And this is the skyline of Kuwait, in fact, showing you the attacks being carried out by Iran, relentless attacks. This is the skyline coming to light. Viewers from one of the war zone areas. This is Kuwait being hit by Iran as well. And this is what we're looking at, the skyline of Kuwait, one of the war zone areas. On Republic, viewers are breaking developments from these areas as they happen. And this is an exclusive report from Kuwait showing the attacks, in fact, being taken by Iran. This is the skyline of Kuwait. It has come under attacks from the Iranian side.
Right. These are the dramatic footages that are coming in from the skyline of Kuwait. As you can see, that someone has shot it from atop a building, from a terrace. And we can actually, if we try and put the audio up, if we can understand what the person is saying.
So whole Kuwait environment is safe and sound. So there is nothing to worry in as far as this issue is concerned. Look a little bit of aggressive from the last. So Kuwait Airlines, the Kuwait environment is basically safe, sound. There is no issues. All are going work fine. So there is some restrictions on what exactly to be recorded and not to record. But this is for the safety purpose. So all Kuwait is safe. There is nothing to worry. There is nothing to concern. Government is taking all the necessary precautions. They've taken every aspect into the consideration. So whole Kuwait environment is safe and sound. So there is nothing to worry in as far as this issue is concerned. Look a little bit of aggressive from the Kuwait Airlines. The Kuwait environment is basically safe, sound. There is no issues. All are going work fine. So there is some restrictions on what exactly to be recorded and not to record. But this is for the safety purpose. So all Kuwait is safe. There is nothing to worry. There is nothing to concern. Government is taking all the necessary precautions. They've taken every aspect into the consideration. So whole Kuwait environment is safe and sound. So there is nothing to worry in as far as this issue is concerned. Look a little bit of aggressive from the last 5 days. There was a couple of reptiles. So Kuwait Airlines, the Kuwait environment is basically safe, sound. There is no issues. All are going work fine.
All right, viewers, we're going back to Mr. Marlow, who continues to stay with us, joining us live from London. Mr. Marlow, I want to ask you, one of the stated objectives of the US-Israeli operation was to have a regime change in Iran. But with Khamenei's son now set to take over the country, it's certainly not a regime change, but a boost to Khamenei's legacy.
Is that what you think? Really? A boost to his legacy? I mean, he's lost at least 49 of his senior people, generals from the IRGC, senior government people as well. They're frantically trying to find somebody to actually head this current regime that is falling apart. And I think on the ground, you're going to see IRGC people slowly finding a way to move over to the other side, whatever that other side is. Right now, it's just civilians who are unarmed. But I do think that there is, and there has been, the most enormous intelligence leak coming from the military and the intelligence itself within Iran that has been passed on to the Israelis and maybe also the United States. And those people clearly are those who do not agree with this regime. I mean, surveys go back for years that say anywhere between 80 to 85% of the Iranian people right now, which is anywhere between 91 million, 92 million. Of course, 7 million have left in the last 10 to 15 years and gone to other countries. But 80 to 85% of the Iranian people want to get rid of this brutal, murderous regime. So it's holding on literally by a string. So they've appointed a new leader. How long is he going to last for? I can pretty much guarantee that the Israelis and the United States are probably tracing exactly where he is, and they're going to look to hit it.
Right. The fact that Mujtaba has been a powerful coordinator, in fact, he's also been coordinating between the factions of the IRGC as well. And he's been, behind the scenes man for a long, long time. And his clout had been only expanding. And that's why that question comes in, Mr. Marlow. Now, shifting focus to the impact, the wider impact of this conflict, Mr. Marlow, how do you gauge what's happening to the markets? You know, the markets are in a tizzy. I think that's also an understatement right right now. The prices, they're all, of course, have shot up. And the economy also has gone for a toss. What we understand, it will continue to do so. What are the steps that could be taken? Where does Europe also stand in there? Because we do not see any clear stand except the lip service by Europe.
Yeah, I think this was to be expected. I mean, everyone in the region knew that this conflict was going to happen anyway. It seems that somebody forgot to tell the British Prime Minister and the British government. Even the French started to prepare beforehand as well, that the British are quite an embarrassment to the British people, I have to say. But nevertheless, this was expected, and therefore, of course, oil prices were going to go up. Gas prices are going to go up. Eventually, in the coming months, that the Europeans, the British, and other people around the world will feel this. Food prices, of course, are going to go up. But this is what takes place during a conflict or a war such as this. I mean, now it's involving 10 countries. And who knows what else is going to happen? I'll tell you who's probably got a smile on his face right now, and that's Vladimir Putin, because now he feels that the pressure is off him and he can actually upstep his attacks against Ukraine. They're into the 5th year of this particular war. The Chinese are probably rubbing their hands together because they're looking at Taiwan, because if they make a move on Taiwan, nobody's going to stop them because they're going to think that the Americans are focused now on the Middle East. So therefore, of course, when I've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years that we're living in a very turmoil situation, a very volatile situation around the world. Of course, it has just moved up one more step.
Yeah. Mr. Mao, just request you to please stay on with that, because we also have a reaction coming in from the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He's, in fact, spoken to the leaders of the countries that are currently under attack from Iran, the President of UAE and the Emir of Qatar. In fact, Zelenskyy said that he is ready to offer help if it does not diminish Ukraine's own defense capabilities. Take a listen in.
War in West Asia continues, with strikes being carried out by Iran on various Gulf nations, damaging US military bases across the region, and joint strikes by Israel and United States on Iranian territory. In the middle of all of this, Ukraine is also going through a war for past 4 years with Russia. Now, with this war, this time in West Asia, Zelenskyy engages with leaders of Qatar and UAE. Zelenskyy says he's ready to offer any sort of help if it does not diminish Ukraine's own defense capabilities. He says for decades, the Iranian regime invested in destroying lives of its neighbors. Zelenskyy also says that they became accomplices of Russia in the war against Ukraine. As Iran strikes continue to take place for past many days, Ukraine claims its expertise in countering Shahed drones. Iranian Shahed drones that are now waging the war in West Asia.
All right, viewers, now coming back to you, Mr. Malo, I want to ask you, Gulf nations have so far exercised restraint. They have been in defensive mode, but with Iran continuing its attacks across the Gulf, are we looking at these countries also shifting into offensive mode in the coming few days?
Yes, I expect that, probably led by Saudi. You're talking about Kuwait, of course, and now Oman has been hit. Qatar, which was a country which differed very much according to their ideology with the other Gulf states, meaning that they were more hardline. They have Hamas leaders very, very happy and content living in palaces inside of Qatar. So they were slightly different from their brothers in Oman and, of course, in the UAE and Bahrain and even Saudi Arabia. But they're now obviously coordinating their next move. At the same time, they weren't expecting this type of drone attack from Iran against the Gulf states and the ballistic missile attacks that their capitals are seeing right now, especially against some tourist spots like the international airport, like hotels, and like other places in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and those places like that. And I think that they're a little bit concerned how much longer that they continue with their air defense systems, because of course they're in the midst of shooting down these ballistic missiles and attack drones, and how many more of these defense systems, missiles, which cost a huge amount of money, do they have in the stockpile? Israel managed to foresee this, and they started working on, about a year ago, a laser system. A laser system, literally, you put a beam up against the missile which is incoming, whether it's from the Houthis or whether it's from Hezbollah or whether it's from Iran, and it shoots it down at a fraction of the cost. In some cases, the Israelis were spending about $50,000 for every one rocket that shoots down one of these missiles. So, of course, this is costing a huge amount of money for these countries as well. And the Gulf states are now deciding what to do about this because it's affecting their economy.
Right, their patience also growing. I think, Mr. Malo, I'll request you to continue to stay on with us. We've got some report coming to light from war zone areas. Now, our report, in fact, the Chinese media, CGTN, reports visible signs of disruption inside the UAE, the blasts being heard in recent days, and major public spaces now appearing unusually subdued. Visuals from Dubai show an eerily quiet airport with flights disrupted, tourists stranded. Meanwhile, Jamal Rushdi from the Arab League has now given his thoughts on the war, condemning the violence and calling for an immediate end to the war, saying that the region did not want this escalation. Here's more on the story. Take a look.
It's almost 6 p.m. here in Tehran. I just came out to buy some medicine for my mother. Then I saw a smoke plume in west of Tehran, just 2 kilometers away from my house. So I came here, and as you see behind me, it's one of the biggest smoke plumes I've seen recently. I don't know what has been exploded, what has been targeted, but it's a big one, and it's been like that in the past 45 minutes. So Tehran has been also attacked by US and Israel today, like the previous days. And of course, there are some reports that the attacks will intensify in the coming hours.
Currently, I'm in Dubai, and we are going to the airport and see if other things are still going on in normal in Dubai. There has been sounds of blast in UAE for past a few days, but there's no sound of blast this morning. Now we are driving on Sheikh Zayed Road heading to the airport. You can see there's much less traffic than normal. Usually it takes about 40 to 45 minutes to travel from Dubai Marina to the airport, but today, as we can see now, it only took about 20 minutes. We are entering departures of Terminal 3 of Dubai International Airport, and there's no display on arrivals information. This is a baggage claim where travelers usually come and pick up their luggages. You can see currently it's empty.
We did not expect that the Iranian response would be missiles, drones, and drone attacks on Arab countries, on the civilians, on civilian installations. It is completely condemned, and we consider that this escalation would be detrimental for the region, for Iran, and for the world. We call for an end of this war and a return to diplomacy as an only way to resolve all the outstanding issues. And we stress that the Arab League completely supports the Arab countries which were at the receiving end of these attacks, we support those countries and the decisions governments take to secure and safeguard the Arab countries in the Gulf and their peoples.
We have breaking news coming in right now. UAE air defenses successfully intercept 3 ballistic missiles and 129 drones. The Ministry of Defense of the UAE announced that the air defenses successfully engaged today with 3 ballistic missiles, detecting 129 drones, of which 121 drones were intercepted, while 8 fell within the country's territories. So that's the big breaking news right now. UAE remains on the edge, as we were showing you the visuals from Dubai, and now UAE saying that it has intercepting 3 ballistic missiles. That's a big update that we're getting in right now. Mr. Malo, I'll go across to you. We've seen that the consequences have been far-reaching. UAE, it's been Dubai has been one of the biggest trade centers, and Dubai hasn't been spared. We've seen scenes of destructions and terror literally on ground coming in from the Emirates. And now what we understand is that that Iran had fired 3 ballistic missiles and an overwhelming amount of drones as well, which have been right now successfully intercepted as claimed by the Emirates. But you see that the Gulf countries are right now in a deep, deep mess as to what's happening right now, that Iran is going no holds barred, and it doesn't matter today which country has been an ally or not a direct adversary or a Muslim country.
And if you note, they're actually going after civilian targets. This is what the Iranians have done with their own people, of course. Within 2 or 3 days, some estimates put 50,000 people dead on the streets of Iran. But these missiles that you're talking about, these attack drones, and I got word about 2 minutes ago that a whole new set of attack drones have just gone into Israel. They're being shot down at this point. In the last 7 or 8 hours, there's been massive missiles attacks against Israelis. They're going again after civilian targets in Tel Aviv, in the center of the country. Last night, they even attacked the Eilat port, which is very far in the south of Israel. So you can see that the range that the Iranians have, and again, this is something that we've been speaking about for several years, that the Iranians who are building and have been building these international ballistic missiles are not building them to be able to attack Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states and Egypt and Israel. They already have those. They've had them for years. They're building them to attack European countries, to hit Berlin, to hit Paris, and of course to hit London. Now, the intelligence in the European areas feel that the Iranians do not have the capability as far, thus far, in order to hit London. Some are questioning this, whether that's true or not, but you can see that they're clearly going after civilian targets. And you just mentioned, you talked about Dubai. Of course, they're going after these targets because that's where the tourists are. That's where a number of Brits left Britain in the last few years to move out to Dubai because they thought there was greater opportunity there for work purposes. Of course, the weather's much nicer, and of course, to have a better life for their families and pay less taxes. And many Europeans have followed that. Now they're confronting something that they never ever imagined within their wildest dreams.
Mr. Malo, we'll come back to you for more developments. Right now, there's a breaking news that's coming in. About 32 Iranians have been rescued from the Iranian warship Airstrikes. This is by Sri Lankan Navy. They were brought to Gele. They've now been admitted to Karapitya Teaching Hospital, according to sources. Now, viewers, the vessel had reported distress about 40 nautical miles off the coast. Earlier today, it prompted the Sri Lankan Navy to launch a rescue operation, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vijita Herath, has now told the Parliament that about 180 individuals were on board the Iranian Navy vessel when it encountered the threat. And now, in fact, it's been reported that this was a distress call made by an Iranian warship, and Sri Lanka responded to that distress call. And this has Rakshita, you know, more and more developments now coming in, and here Sri Lanka.
101 people are missing, Ishita. 101 people still missing and 78 wounded, including 32 of them are very seriously, very grievously injured. That's what we are getting to know. And the Iris Dena is the Moj-class frigate, which was returning to Iran after participating in the Milan exercise that was held in India. They were hosted by India, the Milan 2026. That was a multinational naval exercise in Visakhapatnam. And while it was on its way, the submarine, in fact, hit this frigate. In fact, this is the file footage, so this is not the latest footage of this frigate, but yes, it had participated in this naval exercise, this international maritime exercise that India had hosted, and at least 30 of them have been rescued, what we know, and we have 32 have been rescued. And Deputy Executive Editor Shravan Sen joins us from the newsroom. Shravan, tell us more details about this ship and the Iranians that have been rescued.
Well, in fact, this is quite serious because it's in our backyard that this has actually happened. We're talking about Iris Dena, which is a frigate that is operated by the Iranian Navy. In fact, it was returning after participating in the Milan exercise, an exercise that was hosted by India, as you pointed out rightly. In fact, let me just quickly take you through some more developments and perhaps we can update, because this is the latest coming in from Sri Lanka. 148, it's not 101, but 148 people are still missing. These are the sailors on board. The Iranian warship Iris Dena was attacked by a US submarine. Now that's what is coming in from local reports, that Iris Dena was hit by a US submarine and it ran aground off the southern coast of Sri Lanka. 148 of the approximately 180 people were basically on board the Iranian warship, and they have basically been reported missing due to the attack that has been carried out by a US submarine. About 32 people have been rescued by the Sri Lankan Navy with injuries that have been reported. The Sri Lankan Navy as well as Air Force have been engaged in the rescue operations that have been carried out. Now, Rakshita, this is undoubtedly a significant escalation because the CENTCOM earlier today had basically confirmed that 17 Iranian ships have been targeted. Now we are talking about a ship which is in our backyard, which is off the Sri Lankan coast, that has been attacked by a US submarine. Now remember, as far as the US submarine attack is concerned, these are now claims that are being made. We are yet to get any official confirmation coming in from the CENTCOM as far as whether at all this was an attack that was carried out by United States of America or not. There are local reports coming in, and there are news agencies, international news agencies, who are now reporting by way of sources within the Ministry of Defense in Sri Lanka that this was an attack that was carried out by United States of America. It's a submarine attack. In fact, it is 20 nautical miles off Gale where this attack has actually taken place. Important to point out here that this is an Iranian ship which participated in the International Fleet Review and thereafter also Milan exercise. In fact, this was also the same time when US warships were also here in India during the exercise that was basically carried out. Now, it does seem with this particular attack that it is now spreading. The war is basically spreading to other parts also now. And the United States of America essentially now trying to target Iranian ships which are basically off the coast of Iran at this stage. So it seems that the target is very clear, that all assets of Iran are to be targeted as far as this joint operation of Israel and America is concerned. But it is undoubtedly quite worrisome given the fact that this is no longer being limited to Middle East, but now we are looking at a situation which is just off our backyard where this attack has actually taken place.
Right, Shravan, it seems that the theatre of war here is widening. The latest action now been reported in India's backyard. There was an Iranian warship, in fact, we're given to understand, which was attacked by a US submarine. And now Sri Lanka also responding to the distress call. Mr. Malo is also with us. Please continue to stay with us on broadcast. We're getting some reports. Viewers, now Iran's Assembly of Experts is under pressure to elect Ali Khamenei's son Mojtaba Khamenei as the next supreme leader. Rakshita, this comes after Iran's former supreme leader was killed.
Yes, in fact, they are trying to be as fast as possible in the appointment, and the official announcement from the Assembly of the Experts is expected in a short while from now. Here's more about Mujtaba Ali Khamenei.
Mujtaba Khamenei, son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has declared himself as Iran's new supreme leader following the death of his father. This comes as the US and Israel strikes against Iran have turned West Asia into a war zone. Iran's counterattacks have intensified in the region with several US military bases targeted. Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz and halted the transit of ships in the region. France, UK and Greece have joined the war by sending choppers, drones and anti-missile systems. The death of Ayatollah Khamenei has thrown a leadership vacuum. Filling the vacuum, Mujtaba has now declared himself as the new supreme leader. Despite his lack of political experience, he wields strong influence over the IRGC. Mujtaba was first believed to have been killed among the top 40 Iranian leaders during the Saturday strike, but he survived and is now ready to lead Iran. He now takes charge of a country that has strongly vowed to avenge his father.
All right, viewers, our guest, Mr. Malo, continues to stay with us on this broadcast as we cover all the live developments coming to light from West Asia. Mr. Malo, it seems the theatre of war is now widening. We've seen a recent attack on Iranian warship in India's backyard. It was a submarine attack by the US. How do you see this then going?
Donald Trump said yesterday that at least 4 of the Iranian Navy ships had been taken out. He intends to destroy all of the Iranian Navy. I just got word in the last 30 seconds or so that the Israeli military believe that they need another week to 2 weeks to take out massive Iranian military and intelligence sites across Iran. And also they're hitting their ballistic missile program, the factories, the storage units, and other facilities. They need 1 to 2 weeks. The United States have said that that's what they need, but it could take longer. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't give anything away when he speaks to the media, and he does that all the time. And at the same time, I should just point out to you that in an hour from now here in London, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the British government, he has to go to the House of Commons and he has to answer questions, something which is a weekly ritual here in London. Prime Minister's questions, where the leader of the opposition and many people from across the House of Commons get to ask the Prime Minister questions. You can bet your bottom dollar it's going to dominate this particular region and what's happening now in Iran and around Iran, now involving at least 10 different countries. And he is going to be on the defense. He is going to be against the rings, rather the ropes within the ring, within the boxing ring, because he is just so slow to make any type of decision whatsoever. And let me just give you an example. In the Times this morning, that's the London newspaper, the Times, there was somebody called, let me just check the name, Amir Kotecha, who wrote an opinion piece. Now, he's a senior diplomat in the foreign ministry here in London, has been here for several years. In the last couple of years, he has been based in the Tel Aviv embassy, the British embassy in Tel Aviv, and he left yesterday writing an opinion piece to say that he just doesn't recognize the foreign ministry anymore. He said the civil servants has become so woke, meaning so liberal and so progressive. And he used these words. He claims that the government is now being restrained on strict interpretations of what international law is all about. Now, Keir Starmer, as we know, was a lawyer, and he seems to actually always cite international law why he can't get involved. Now, this particular diplomat in the British embassy, I should say, in Tel Aviv, in Israel, said that everyone in this region knew that a war was going to unfold. It was just a question of when. Was it in the next day or was it in the next week? And yet Keir Starmer did absolutely nothing. The French have even got a carrier actually heading towards. Right now, the only one available British carrier, and Britain have got 4 of those carriers, but there's only one available because the rest are not available to sell. Only one is still sitting in the port over here, and they should be looking after British personnel in Cyprus, which is now being bombarded by the Iranian attack drones. So it's just dismal on behalf of this government, and I'm quite certain that the leader of the opposition and other parties within the House of Commons are really going to give Keir Starmer a real hard time in 1 hour from now.
Right, all eyes will be on that as well. But just stay on with us, Mr. Marlow. We have some more breaking news coming in right now. The IDF says that it has struck an underground Hezbollah weapons storage facility and additional command centers in Beirut. So Israeli Defense Forces continue to pound several of the targets connected with the Hezbollah, that is the Lebanese group, Shiite militia group backed by Iran. In fact, it's one of the at the forefront, that one of the militias in the forefront, and it's countering the strikes by Israel. And now this is a video of the strike on a Hezbollah terror infrastructure in the city of Beirut in Lebanon, as we see that Hezbollah continues to participate in this war, stepping up its attacks against the Israeli forces. And meanwhile, we've seen for the past 5 days that Hezbollah has been targeted by Israel. And meanwhile, we have some more breaking news coming in and more updates on the Sri Lankan Navy rescuing the Iranians of the ship that has been sunk by the strikes. No information, says Sri Lankan Navy sources, on Iranian ship crossing the Sri Lanka coast. Sri Lankan Navy sources say that detailed investigation will be carried out, that no immediate proof of a US hand has been found. So just an update on the Iranian ship that we are getting right now, the Iris Dana, that has been struck in these strikes. Now, what the Sri Lankan sources are telling us is that there is no information as to if this strike was carried out by the United States. They will be conducting an investigation. But yes, we've seen that, as Mr. Marlow was pointing out, the claims that have been made by Donald Trump itself, in fact, going on to even talk about 17 Iranian warships being sunk by the United States of America. But Sri Lankan Navy sources tell us that a detailed probe will be carried out, that it's not clear yet if it was an American strike to sink the ship, Iris Dana, which was, in fact, now... Okay, Shavan is getting us more information on that. Shavan, Sri Lankan Navy sources are saying that we do not know that if it was an American strike, that it was crossing the Sri Lankan coast. There's no information on that.
Well, that's the first indication now coming in from the Sri Lankan Navy. And in fact, they are basically harping on the fact that the focus right now is on the rescue operation, because the moment when we asked about whether at all they had any information as to what led to this particular frigate sinking, they're saying that right now a detailed investigation will be carried out. Having said that, there is no clear indication that they're giving that whether at all this was an attack that was carried out by United States of America. They're putting this across by simply saying that right now the focus is on the rescue operation, because there are several sailors who are still missing. We're looking at almost about 101, because the figures, it seems to be changing right now, Rakshita, because we haven't got clarity as yet, because we've directly dialed a Sri Lankan Navy to get the first-hand information. All that we were essentially told, Rakshita, is number one, that there is a confirmation about Iris Dana that has been hit. They're also saying, surprisingly, that they had absolutely no idea that Iris Dana would be crossing the Sri Lankan coast at this point in time. So that's another surprise element that has come in. It seems that following the exercise, it was on its way back to Iran when it was hit. Now, whether at all this was an attack carried out by United States of America is yet to be confirmed by the Sri Lankan Navy, but international news agencies, Rakshita, have been clearly pointing out, citing Ministry of Defense sources within Sri Lanka, saying that this was a submarine attack 20 nautical miles off the coast. Having said that, we have also tried to independently check ourselves, and this is all that we can confirm, that the ship has been hit and it is sinking. In fact, about 101 sailors were still missing, and the breaking news now coming in here on Republic TV is that the Sri Lankan Navy is now indicating that they had no idea that Iris Dana was actually crossing through Sri Lankan coast.
Right. Shravan, also, do we have any reaction from New Delhi regarding these developments taking place in India's backyard? Because we're looking at the widening of the conflict, specifically in Asia. Now we're looking at some more action.
It's quite unlikely that you would have a response right now coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs, because it has got nothing to do with us. As far as participation is concerned, the exercise is already over and the ship is out of Indian territorial water jurisdiction. So that is the reason why perhaps it's very, very unlikely that you would have any response really coming in from India at this point in time. It's significant because this was a warship that had participated recently in two major events. One was the Milan exercise. It's a multinational, military exercise that is basically carried out. And in fact, this happened just about a few days ago. And before that, there are images and videos that have also come in with regards to Iran's participation in the International Fleet Review, beyond which there is not much link with India at this point in time. Why it is a cause of concern, because it's not, in our backyard that this attack has actually taken a suspected submarine attack, if I may say so. But if that is the case, it certainly indicates right now the widening of the conflict.
Right, Shravan, in fact, this is a serious blow to Iran also if it's a submarine attack, and that's one of the, Iranian-made, one of the top-class ships that we understand was participating in this naval exercise. So thanks so much, Shravan, in the meanwhile, joining us for those updates. So several casualties here in that attack as well. Now, IRGC, meanwhile, has launched its 17th wave of strikes against the U.S. and Israeli targets. And according to the IRGC, the ground force of the IRGC responded to the Israeli-US strikes against Iran with three major operations. Announcing another phase of Operation True Promise 4 today, IRGC's PR says that immediately after the joint Israeli-US strikes, its ground forces launched more than 230 assault drones towards targets in the occupied land of the US bases in the region. And it says that the IRGC is firing dozens of drones in several waves towards the US military bases in Erbil and Kuwait, and destroying several terrorist groups' headquarters in what it calls the terrorist groups in northern Iraq, which were the first actions of brave soldiers, it says, of the IRGC. I'm just quoting what the IRGC has said. And the IRGC also goes on to say that a fresh wave of Iranian retaliatory strikes has crippled a major US airbase in Bahrain, with strikes destroying the command centers. IRGC claims that Iran's retaliatory strikes have left more than 680 casualties for the American troops in various U.S. bases in the first 2 days of the war. Officials of the IRGC say that the targeting U.S. military bases in the region constitute legitimate self-defense. Mr. Marlow, if you're still with us, Mr. Marlow, well, this is, alarming, the fact that of course, this is IRGC's claims, but it says that there have been more than 600 casualties as far as America is concerned. And we see that it continues to pound and target those U.S. air bases, U.S. bases across the Gulf region. And what's alarming is that even those air defenses have been struggling. There has not been a very good coordination. U.S. has not been able to really defend these bases because we see the claims that have been made and also the visuals that have come to the fore.
Yeah, I think this was a bit of a surprise that they didn't expect the Iranians were going to hit out against these American bases as they have done. But no doubt that will be boosted up in the coming days, I suspect. What is working very well is this US-Israel alliance. I think a lot more people around the world now have a huge amount of respect for certainly the Israeli Air Force. If I may just pick up on what you said earlier on with regard to Hezbollah, because that was a very, very stupid thing for Hezbollah to have done. They wanted to do something symbolically. They wanted to hit